Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me just make sure. It looks like we're live.
Okay. So I will call the meeting, reconvene the meeting at 6:02. And reporting out from closed session, we were able to discuss a new evaluation tool for the superintendent. And the four standards that will be focused on this school year will be leadership and district culture, policy and governance, communications and community relations, and the fourth is organizational management. And I also wanted to share our vision and mission in the school district. Every student receives engaging and challenging learning experiences to reach their greatest potential and thrive in a diverse global society. And the mission is delivers exceptional, engaging, equitable, and collaborative learning opportunities for all students. And we also have public comment announcement. Individuals may address the board on agenda items on both the closed session and regular session agenda during public participation and/or at the time they are under consideration by completing the form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting the form to Renee Holes. Public comment are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board unless placed on an agenda at a subsequent meeting in accordance with the law, the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or in writing at a future time. And this meeting is videoed and broadcasted on the FBUSD YouTube channel. And we also, we're in person, so you can go to the podium for public comment, but we are also allowing members of the public who wish to address the board during the board meeting to submit prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the board meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. If you require translation services, please contact Renee in advance, 72 hours, by phone or email. So those are our disclosures. And now we're to approval of the agenda. Do we have anything that needs to be pulled or moved? And
Just
if,
that we may move the construction manager's report along until he's able to arrive. He's attending another meeting ahead of this one.
okay. Very good.
Nate, can you turn up Wendy's mic, please? Thanks.
So may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda with the exception that we may move, what is it we're moving? The construction
First, 8.2.1.
8.2.1.
In a second?
So moved.
Okay, Jerry, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Seeing no objections, or a motion, or voice motion carries. And the next item is 3.4, which is public comment of non-agenda items. So do we have any public comment of non-agenda?
Yes, we do. Our first speaker is Michelle, I'm sorry, how do you say your name? Schwartz. Michelle Schwartz.
I'm here to speak against mandates for vaccines for children. I'm a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 2. My daughter is a senior here at Fort Bragg High. And I suspect some of you are parents as well, maybe grandparents. And I'd like to ask you, do you honestly believe that Governor Newsom knows better than you do for your child? And I know you can't answer me, but I want you to keep asking it, because I will fight till the end of my days to be able to choose for my child and for my children to choose for their children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Roger Boyles. Bowles?
Would you go to the
if
mic,
you would,
please?
use the microphone.
Good evening. My name's Roger Bowles. I'm a local resident, and I came tonight to inquire as to the reason that the tennis courts at the junior high school is all just caged off with weeds growing in it and doesn't seem to be used. And I'm wondering, as it's next to the senior centre, is it maybe something that the school and the senior centre could collaborate on and possibly have it functioning? Because as it stands right now at the tennis courts, it's very difficult to even get in there because there's tennis players, there's quite a few people that play pickleball, and there really aren't the amenities here. So my question is, can something be done about that? Is it viable? And what needs to be done to get it functioning where it can be of use? It's just a wasted space right now. So thank you for listening. That's about all I wanted to say. And other people that I know also are interested in it. It's not just me, it's a large amount of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker is Donna Medley.
Members of the school board, good evening. My name is Donna Medley, and I'm part of the pickleball squad here. And, I don't know if you know about pickleball, so some do and some don't. Excellent, yeah. But in case you don't, it's played with a racket. It's one of them. And Roger's one of the best. And a ball, which is a lot like a wiffle ball. And it doesn't hurt much if they hit at you, which Roger does. And then, so it's played with a net that's just about a couple inches shorter than a regular tennis net. It's played on a court. Usually it can be a pickleball court, or most likely it's a tennis court that's been reconfigured or added to with stripes that the pickleball rules will tell you what you're supposed to do with those stripes. But it's basically leaves it so that it can be played with tennis or pickleball. So it is the fastest growing sport in the United States, and it's wonderful because you could play it kind of like ping pong, you know. I play it and I, plug along. Or you could play it and be like the Chinese Olympics team people. So there's a variety, but what's wonderful about it is it's fun, it's easy to learn. Seniors play it like crazy in Fort Bragg. And young people can play it. And seniors can teach young people how to play it, which is kind of cool. So we do have a proposal. We did send an email from one of the many seniors, 25 plus that I know so far, who play it regularly. And we have a proposal that we'd like to present as least as a starting place for some solutions for the problems that we have, in which we don't get to be on the court and tennis players want to be on the court, and we can't share just one court with all the people that are interested. So we're suggesting that the middle school tennis courts be resurfaced and include lines when they are for pickleball play, or to ask the senior center to take over management of those courts so that they can include pickleball scheduling for all people in the community. Or and I see I have 7 seconds, we'd like to have this high school as well consider the courts being lined.
Sorry. Sorry about
I
that.
guess.
Sorry, that's
Thank
our
you
first
for
time
your
using
time.
this
Yeah,
one.
thank
Trying to
you.
turn it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Donna had some papers she wanted to know if it would be appropriate to leave for the board or not.
If that's fine, you can give it to me, Donna, and I'll make sure that the board gets it. And I think I did get an email from someone, and my apologies, I just haven't had an
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
It's a copy of the email.
Okay.
So Do we have any other in-person public comment before we move on to the board
No, we do not.
email?
Hold on,
public?
do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay. I do have emails.
Okay,
Do you wanna
so
read?
let me read the,
Okay,
we have
hold
a
on.
public comment, okay. So this is still for non-agenda items, and we're reading one virtually. So the following public comment was received by the district using the public comment email address. For ease of public participation, it will be read into the record by a district employee. This should not be construed as an endorsement of this comment by the district or as the position of the district.
So we have two comments that came into board meeting at fbusda.us. And then we have another comment that came to me, and I'm going to work with that person because there have been last minute changes to it. So I want to make sure that I honor what she wants. So I will contact her and have her submit it appropriately to board meetings so that it's read at the board meeting and we have it in the record. So we have two emails. The first one is from Sarita Kohlberg, received today. Dear board members, I am writing as a parent of kids who grew up here in this town, as a grandparent of potential future kids in your schools, and as a 22-year provider of childcare in this town. I spoke at the last meeting because so few others showed up to speak. Too many who live and need to work here fear speaking their minds, and I feel someone has to speak up. Many families are willing to make other sacrifices to remain in their homes and jobs in their hometown, but are willing to leave to protect their children. Our family and the families I know are all vaccinated against common childhood illnesses and would no way consider ourselves anti-vaxxers. I personally am against mandates of any sort, and I know many families who agree. While vaccines are usually more reward than risk, that is a parent's job to choose for their child. When it comes to the experimental COVID shots, which are being marketed as a vaccine, they are not, and they are in fact gene therapy, which is a new lab creation, which hasn't even been properly tested on adults due to a state of emergency. Just yesterday, I learned that OSHA has backed down from a mandate for employers as they are facing a loss in court. In the Fifth Circuit Court's reaffirmation on November 12th, it stated that the Biden administration's vaccine mandate raises serious constitutional concerns and likely exceeds the federal government's authority. Our children should be protected from any potential harm as a priority above all else. When COVID-19 and more recent variants are affecting kids at a disproportionately low rate, and preliminary reports from testing are showing irreparable harm from the shot, it is clear that this also falls under the Nuremberg Code, which protects everyone from forced medical testing and experimentation. As children are too young to consent to it, it is also clear that their parents are the only one to make this decision for them. I know you will not respond, but I pose these questions which all parents want answers to. Will you illegally require medical treatment on children which are not yours? Will you allow children whose parents to not consent to move their children back to independent study, or will you disenroll them? Are you prepared for the loss of funding when you lose a large portion of your student population? Are you ready for the potential lawsuits? Thank you, Sarita Kohlberg, Sarita's Childcare, Fort Bragg, California. The next email is from Michelle Anderson. Dear board members, when will the board come to a vote on the COVID mandate, whether if you don't support it or not? That will allow time for concerned parents to start planning their kids' future education starting between now and next year. Again, you all are already aware of parents concerned on the mask and the COVID-19 shot mandate, that we ask you all to vote no and end all the mandates now. The future of education is going to drastically change. There will be no more empty student seats. There will be more empty student seats. There will be more job openings that will be more difficult to fill. There will be more difficult changes to make. Your jobs will just get much more harder than today, as I cannot see how the school district can afford a possible mini lawsuit if mandate were to pass. It would not just be against the school district. It would also be against the county and the state as well. The COVID virus will still be there along with cold and flu virus for many years to come. Everyone has been wearing the wrong mask when a virologist says you need to be wearing a N95 mask if the virus was so contagious and schools campus had been still closed. If you continue to comply to Governor Newsom's future orders, then again you will continue to damage the education paved for the present and future children. The mental health of children will continue to skyrocket. The future does not look very good for our school district or for our country. Please pass that message on to County Superintendent Michelle Hutchins as well, since she made it very clear that we parents are messing with the school system, asking about the mandates and everything going on. Taxpayer parents have rights to know what is going on with their children's school, and parents get to decide what is best for their children. Children belongs to their parents, period. Sincerely, from a concerned parent, Michelle Anderson. And
So do
I
we-
will check.
One more time, and do we have any other, we had a few folks walk in. I don't know if there's any non-agenda items.
We're reviewing one right now.
Okay.
This would be non-agenda. So this would be now. So Judy,
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to speak on an agenda item because it's related to what you're talking about now. Can I do it now?
so this is for non-agenda items. So did you want to speak twice or just
Well,
once?
I'm not clear about what your agenda item is for 10B, but I wanted to talk about vaccines and vaccine mandates.
So item 10.2 is the masking guidance, and item 10.3 is our district protocol. So if you're going to talk about vaccines, that would be non-agenda, and you could do that now.
I'm sorry.
If you want to talk about vaccines, then you can talk about it now, because that is a non-agenda item.
Okay. All right. So I have here a document.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Oh,
I'm
You
sorry.
can bend it.
Yeah,
There you go.
Thank you. So we
My
can
name
hear
is Judith Vitiver, and I'm representing a local group called Citizens for Freedom and the Common Good. And we have put together a document called Why Not to Vaccinate Children. And I would like to share that with whoever wants copies. I'll submit them to whoever I can here. And I have copies for other people also. And so I'll just touch on the highlights of this. This is all very well researched and fact-checked. And so at first I'd like to say that children are at almost zero risk of dying or being harmed by COVID. The CDC says the infection rate for ages 0 to 17 is 0.002. And a recent study by Johns Hopkins says that healthy children don't die of COVID. There was no healthy child who died of COVID. Children are not super spreaders. Unvaccinated kids and adults are needed to protect from the creation of more deadly strains. It is actually the vaccines that are putting survival pressure on the virus that are creating the more virulent strains. As far as the shots go, they're not fully approved by the FDA. They're for emergency use only. And there is no emergency for kids, given the low rate of them acquiring and spreading and dying of COVID. It's also not currently mandated for kids. And as far as mandates go, recent Court of Appeals has struck down mandates by the federal government. So we're not sure how that's going to apply to any mandates, but they also might be struck down. I don't know why I'm so nervous.
Take a breath. You're doing
Not
fine.
usually so nervous. So also, 10,000 physicians of the world have resolved that healthy children shall not be subject to forced vaccination. That healthy unvaccinated children are critical to achieving herd immunity. Natural immunity is proven to tolerate infection, benefiting community protection, while there is insufficient data to assess whether COVID vaccines assist herd immunity. From the Pfizer data, which is insufficient, has been determined as insufficient, kids' risk of vaccine injury is greater than the risk that they can have from COVID. There's a long list of possible side effects that come with the vaccine, and the actual data shows an injection injures and kills more people than it protects from COVID. And I have all the sites and all the references that support this. So the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, shows that injuries exceed 850,000, and the most recent calculation is that over 18,000 people have died from the vaccine in the United States alone. In Europe, almost 25,000 people have died from the vaccine. And if you think about how the VAERS only captures less than 10% of adverse events, the actual numbers could be 10 times higher. So my time is up. There's a whole lot of other things that are really, really important to know. So before we just go headlong into vaccinating children, we really need to look at all of these things. And I would like to hand these out.
Thank you.
Is anyone in the audience interested in any of this?
So do we have any other non-agenda items for public comment? Because we are coming. And nothing else on the email?
There are no other public comments in the board meeting email.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
So we have next on the agenda, the patriotic exercise by our student rep, Joe Erickson.
America is a diverse country, and acknowledging our first local people is a great way to celebrate that diversity. November is National American Indian Heritage Month, and so with today's patriotic exercise, I'd like to recognize the Pomo people on whose land we currently reside. Part of being patriotic is honoring the many cultures that make up our country, one of which are the Pomo. The Pomo tribe were and are hunter-gatherers and experts at fishing and basket weaving. Their population numbers went down drastically during European colonization, but according to recent censuses, and I looked that up, it is said censuses, not censi, there are more Pomo people than ever living in the United States and in California. So let's acknowledge the first local people and their part in forming America this November. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So next item on the agenda is acknowledgements.
We were fortunate that the MedVets, who are now occupying the Gray Whale Inn, they donated 7,200 children's face masks for use at FBUSD schools. So thank you, MedVets.
Very good. And the next item on the agenda is communications. Do we have any communications?
So I've received several communication from many different parents asking questions like our families did today about vaccines and what's going on with the mandates and what the status is. So I will tell you what I've told all of them, which is at this time, while Governor Newsom has suggested a mandate, the legislature has not voted for a mandate as of yet. I've also told our families who've contacted me about mandates that at this time, the board has not discussed it because it has not been approved. And I've also told every family member who's called me that if you're concerned about the mandate, please contact your legislature. They are the representatives who will be taking the vote on this. So that's what I've received in communication. I would like to give the board a more thorough report at the December board meeting so that you know what I know about vaccine mandates. I will tell you that I've attended several meetings this week trying to keep apprised of where we are with the most current information. So as of right now, nothing's been passed. And what I heard today in our meeting, which I communicated to two parents today, was that word on the street from the legal meetings that the state meetings that I've been attending, the majority of the legislature is up for reelection in June. In order for this to turn into a mandate, it needs a 2/3 supermajority vote. So now more than ever, folks need to write their legislatures, whatever your opinion is. But I would like to be able to give you a more thorough report in my superintendent report on December 9th so that you have a better idea of what's going on. We should know a little bit more by then. I believe that this landscape is changing pretty frequently at this point. And because we are on a different era with COVID and where we are with therapeutic options, I think this landscape will continue to change. So I'd like to add this to the December 9th board agenda. I wish the families were still here to hear this, but they've gone. And then at that point, I'll be able to tell you with more detail where we are. And it may be something that needs to continue to be on the agenda after December because of the dates that were posed as potential mandate
Okay.
dates.
Great, thank you for clarification on communication, but I don't think I received anything by email.
I received one email on November 10th from a Brittany Glenn. I don't know if everyone
Oh, okay.
received that email.
That's true,
or
yeah.
not.
She-
Yeah, that is
from out
true.
of the area,
Thank you
yeah.
for
Okay.
I did too.
catching that.
Totally
And that email was asking about what we are doing as a board to talk to our legislature about, I don't know if it was specific to mandates. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is public comment for agenda items. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak, make a comment on agenda item? And it
It's a
looks like-
lively group.
Yeah, it looks like no one wants to speak in person, but do we have any comments for agenda items?
We have no public comment in the board meeting email.
Email, okay. Great, thank you for checking. So our first report on the agenda is our student rep report.
I'll start off with Redwood. At Redwood, students and staff continue to do great work and are excited to have parents on campus after dismissal this week to attend the report card conferences with the teachers. And the short days for students mean long but worthwhile days for the teachers. And after the break next week, there's a site council meeting coming up on the 2nd of December. Coffee with the principal is this Friday, not this Friday, we held Friday, December 10th, from 9 to 9:30 a.m. in the cafeteria. Parents are encouraged to attend. And at Dana Gray is also currently in the middle of parent-teacher conferences, the 16th to 19th of November. And their Thanksgiving break is 22nd to 26th as well. And the 5th grade students will be taking the California Healthy Kids Survey when they return the week of November 29th to December 3rd. And the Dana Gray Winter Book Fair will be from December 6th to 10th. And the Parents Club at Dana Gray will meet on Tuesday, December 7th at 5:30. For the middle school, the following things are happening. Basketball season is in full swing. Student council elections were held this week, and parent-teacher conferences were held in person on Wednesday in their gym. And the first school dance will be held outside in the quad if it doesn't rain tomorrow, this Friday. Might rain. For the high school, the fall sports are finished, and we are now starting the winter sports season. And we are finishing up our first round of advisory workshops. And when we return from the winter break, there are only 3 weeks left, and teachers will be preparing students to take the finals, many of us for the first time ever. We are also having ugly sweater contests every Wednesday when we return from Thanksgiving break, on a lighter note. And the high school staff hopes everyone has a great Thanksgiving break. And Noyo High School, I have no report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much for your thorough report, and you're free to stay as long as you'd like or exit whenever you need to, according to your workload and
All right.
social schedule.
I think I'll go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
Nice to see you. So our next is superintendent report, and so we will bump the modernization bond update for Don Alameda when he walks through the door, but so we'll go on to the alternative ed big picture learning update presented by Principal Connie Belli.
I'm hoping that all works well with technology because Renee had to help me because I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time. So I actually came to give you guys sort of an update overview of what we've been doing for Big Picture Learning because we haven't talked a lot about it and we haven't had, we haven't been in session. And so this is our first year of being really in person with the kids and being full implementation of Big Picture Learning. So I have some videos and I have some pictures and I don't want to talk for a length of time, but so Big Picture Learning, I think I've told you before, is kids are at the center of their learning. And so they learn by what interests them as opposed to, teacher top down, you need to learn history and math, blah, blah, blah. Everything comes through what is interesting to them. And there's a lot of components to it. There's, they go on, they do internships. They do what are called leaving to learns. So they go, they go around town, they go in the community, they do things. I wanted to start by we have a coach, and his name is Lauren, because I can never pronounce his last name. He's from Seattle, and he's one of the first that started a Big Picture Learning up there. And so I had him do a video, and because he's been here he was here Tuesday and Wednesday. So I think I'll just let him speak.
My name is Lauren Deverudis, and I'm a regional director at Big Picture Learning. I'm recording this from a hotel in Windsor after spending 2 days in your community. At its core, our mission at Big Picture is to activate the power of schools, students, and communities such that young people can live lives of their own design. It's hard work, and it's especially hard right now, as you know. If I had to sum up my observations of the past 2 days into 3 words, it would be belonging, expectations, and real. Belonging, because it's clear there's a sense that each person matters in the school. I saw students and staff lifting each other up, laughing together, playing together, and challenging each other to do right by their community and their future self. A couple students were discussing ways to give feedback to one of their peers about how he could step up and be more professional. One student asked me to give input into his resume. Students were showing their work and they were proud of it. Expectations, because there's a powerful and growing culture in which students and staff push each other to increasingly higher bars. One student said, "I'd like to see my growth, and I'm very proud of that." And he was open about it in front of his teacher, me, his mom, and even his peers. And I think it made an impression on the young men that were listening to him. His mom told me she loves the school so much and is impressed by how much this young person has grown in such a short time. And it's real. Students are doing real things and engaging in real conversations. One student showed me his Arduino computer and how he programmed it to play holiday songs. Another student proudly showed me his jewelry that he'd been working on. Students were talking about the profound effect community members have had on the way they think about themselves and the way they think about issues. They're challenging each other and they're doing things that matter beyond the classroom. I guess what I really saw was an abundance of leadership. Students taking leadership to forge their futures. Students engaging in instructional leadership of the school and taking action to improve the community as well as the learning cycle. Staff pushing each other hard and grappling with the alignment between their vision, their practice, and their expectations for young people and themselves. I'm honored to be working with this community. And if you haven't had the chance, I'd encourage you to visit. Share your story. Sit in a student exhibition. Ask students about their interests and where they're going. I found it inspiring, deeply inspiring. I wish I could be there in person with y'all. Please call me or reach out anytime. Bonnie has my contact info. I'm deeply grateful for the support you have shown for this community. You're doing great work. Hi.
We want to replay it. I'm a crier, so I'm going to try not to cry, but that was really inspiring for all of us, and Lauren is always inspiring when he comes and sees us and makes us feel validated about what we're doing because he sees things we don't always see. And so part of what we do during a day or a week at Big Picture is Tuesday. It's divided up into Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Tuesday, Thursdays. So Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are full of exploration time where kids are working on their own projects. Spot lessons, which are short-term lessons that each of the teachers do, and they can be learning how to change a tire, how to use the 3D printer, how to use the recording equipment, how to do public speaking we just had, basketball practice. So the kids pick it and they do it for a week, and then they go on to another thing. And then the big thing is called Design Lab. And Design Lab is, and Gary's going to help me with this because he's got wrapped his head around it more. But Design Lab is where the kids take on a social problem and sort of decide how to work with it and come up with their own solutions and come up with their own ideas and things that they want to work on to get to it's a problem solving. I can't even say it. I'm not even saying it right. But anyway, it's all about problem solving. And
it doesn't have to be social issues.
Right.
Gary.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
So as Connie says, it's kind of a problem-solving class. We're teaching them the design process, but it can be applied to to pretty much anything. So, for instance, our next trimester, the projects on offer, we have 3 different ones. One will be looking at self-sustainability, and so students will be kind of looking and exploring what that means and what truly a person would need to be self-sustained and how to get there. A second project is looking at putting together a sort of business plan and model for our quote-unquote cafe that we have, our break room. And then the third project is a more social justice one, looking at the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women, some of the reasons why there's such a disparity in the number of Indigenous women that go missing, and looking at potential ways that it could be addressed. And so that's a chance for us to teach them a process of identifying an issue and understanding a person's perspectives, and then looking for potential solutions and what have you. And then through that sort of scaffolded approach, they can then take that into their own personal work when they're doing their own projects. And so it supports everything else that they're doing.
Oh, God, thank you, Gary. Anyway, so I guess what I wanted to say is that the past 2 projects were dealing with the water issue in Fort Bragg, the drought and lack of water, and also changing the name of Fort Bragg. And so they were divided into groups. The kids that did the water conservation and water problem in Fort Bragg went to the desalinization plant, and they made maps of drought areas. They talked about solutions that they thought they could have. And naming Fort Bragg had some guest speakers doing both sides of the issue, plus the vice mayor came and spoke to the kids, and then the kids had to do PSAs about their opinions, and then they presented the PSAs to the committee for the name changing. They did that on last Friday. So those are some of the things our kids are doing for Design Lab. And I don't know how, like I said, I don't want to talk a lot. We had last year, we had meetings with kids from all over the world, and it was remote, so it was great, from Italy, India, England, Washington State, Ukiah, Windsor. And so they did those kinds of things. That's what they're engaged in. They also have we had an internship last year, and we're doing more this year, but we had a young man that interned at a welding shop, and learned how to weld, learned how to, the science of welding, what it takes to run a small business. And we've had kids this year that are going to the Humane Society, to Job Shadow, to the food bank to Job Shadow. They're doing job shadows at a barber shop, and these are all because they're interested in all these different things. We have a young woman we hope is going to go to a job shadow at a nail salon. So these are all various things that the kids have to come up with, and they have to do all the legwork behind it. And so they have to do the cold calling, and they have to do the informational interview, and then they have to set up the job shadow. The advisors, which is what we call the teachers, do help them, but it really is on the student to make it all happen. I have a video somewhere. I have one of a young lady's interview, I think, I hope. Or I don't know how Renee did her magic, but I have not that one.
Not that one.
No, but it's in the other stuff
If you go through the picture.
the pictures.
Oh, it's in the
Just-
picture.
Just keep hitting next.
Well, those are just videos.
Oh, okay, do additional campus photos.
Yeah, I don't know how to work this, so I'm sorry. There's an interview,
Scroll down.
of course. Right, see the one in the corner at the bottom row?
Yeah, that's it.
This one?
Yeah.
That one. That's, so, it's pretty short, but
Green or
she-
orange, Connie?
Huh?
Which young lady?
Um,
Dark hair.
There's two.
this one, the blonde.
Okay.
Her name is Susie Rodseth, and she is a poster child for Big Picture Learning. She was a young lady who hated school, did really poorly, never wanted to go, kicking and fighting with mom. And so this is her now. I hope. Yeah.
Hi, can you please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about Big Picture Learning for you?
Okay. My name is Susan Rodseth. I've been here for a year at this school, and I really...
Uh-oh. She really does like it.
Hi, can you please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about Big Picture Learning for you?
Okay. My name is Susan Rodseth. I've been here for a year at this school, and I really love it. So, yeah. It really changed me. It changed, I feel more confident. I really didn't like school before, especially at the middle school. I didn't like it, and now I came here, and it's helped me a lot, so.
How about spot lessons? What do you think of spot lessons?
It's been easy, really. It's not been easy, but it's been comfortable for me. I've always struggled with math and had a hard time with that, and I came here. We did start doing spot lessons, and for everyone in the class, it's always like at their level for reading and math and everything. It's been really good, helpful.
Now, you did some big projects in Design Lab. What did you think of doing Design Lab?
It was actually a really cool experience. There's been people of the Fort Bragg Council coming in, and we've had meetings, and we've met new people and shared some stuff and asked questions and been part of groups, and it's been really cool experience and really helpful.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add about your feelings about Big Picture Learning?
I'm not sure. I just really love it here. It's been awesome. I've helped my confidence and everything, and yeah.
Thank you, Susie, for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah.
So Susie's in our middle school program, because we have a middle school program and a high school program. One of the spot lessons that was rather popular, and I think it's in the row second from the bottom, the one second from the, I know this is really wonky because of the barista, that one. So we were donated a commercial espresso machine from our advisor Emily McPhail and her husband Scott Menzies, who's in this picture. And so one of the spot lessons was teaching the kids about becoming a barista and what it takes and the whole coffee process and the science behind that. And he trained some kids to do to make espressos. And so there is one young man, it's not this one, but another one who really took to it. And so he's in really high demand now at school during break because he knows how to do it. So that's one of the spot lessons. I think the last two things I really want to talk about are if you could click on the one next to the barista one. So I want to talk about, no, the other one. I don't. So we had a lunchroom that was like, I can't even describe to you how bad it was. It was gruddy and messy and not very inviting. So this summer, all of us talked a lot about changing things up for the kids coming back. And one of the things that we talked a lot about is making the lunchroom more inviting. So Gary built the counter that's right there. It used to be, well, it used to not be there. There used to be all these weird cabinets. So he built the counter out so it looks like a counter in a cafe. And we bought cafe tables and we painted it. Well, Gary painted it. And we christened it the Cove. So the kids now go in there to do their work when they want. They go in there to get snacks. They hang out in there, and it has transformed things. It's transformed the way the kids look at it. It's transformed the way the kids feel about their space, and it's made a huge impact on them. They don't look at it and go, oh my God, it looks so horrible. They really like it. And, they get grilled cheese sandwiches and they get Nutella sandwiches and they get all this food. And we've been lucky to have the food bank bring us snacks so that the kids get snacks, as much as they want, which is really important for them. And then they can take food home if they want to. The other thing, and I sent Renee a lot of pictures of this, but there are, in Northern California, there are 5 big picture schools. There's us, and there's Ukiah, and Windsor, and Cloverdale, and Hillsburg. So Eric Forrester, one of our advisors, decided that it would be really cool to have a collaborative day and have these other schools come to our space, and then we would go to theirs and do the same kind of thing. So it started out with a basketball tournament, and the kids all, the kids who wanted to play basketball were joining in on it. So as she's clicking through these are some pictures of that day. 2 of the schools couldn't come, unfortunately, because of COVID stuff. So we had Windsor and Hillsburg there. So we had about, 80 kids? About 80 kids all together. And we had basketball for them, and that's all the advisors that came, and us. We had basketball, we had a tournament, we had a tie-dyeing, we had makeup and, nails. We had all of this stuff going on, and we had video games all outside. And then we did a huge barbecue for them. Amanda Vanette, our instructional paraprofessional, was the spearheading that. And it was amazing. It was amazing to watch these kids all joining together and doing things and meeting these other advisors that we had never met in person. And it was, it did our hearts good. We had a kid that was barbecuing. He was taking over the barbecuing, and the kids from the other schools were really amazing. And we did some circle activities, and we're going to do it again in the spring. Hopefully, either Hillsburg and Windsor have both said that they would spearhead it. And it's why we do what we do. It's what Big Picture is about. It's about learning through what interests them and what intrigues them and what gets their blood flowing. Is the only way I can say it. So that's what I wanted to present to you, so you guys have a bigger picture of what we're doing over there. And I invite any of you to come. I would love it to come and see it, see the cafe, see the kids, talk to the kids. So
Thank you.
that's my report.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Connie. Good job. Good
Okay,
job,
we have a
Gary.
very clear picture of the big picture. Thank you.
I have a
That-
quick question, though. Are you going to invite the board to come to an exhibition?
I am. I didn't get around to that. I'm sorry. This was exhibition week, which I think Gary's going to talk about a little bit more. But so they're ending tomorrow, and I didn't. But when the next one comes around, yeah. The week of February 14th is our next exhibition week.
Only
and-
2 at a time, please.
Sorry. Only 2 at a time.
Only two board members
Yes,
at a
yes.
time.
No,
Oh, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Only 2 at a time. But we would, yes, you're all invited to come and see them. They're all week, and they're all the kids have to present in front of everybody. So
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime you have events, that's great.
yeah,
Love to
it-
visit when we're invited,
Right.
not do surprise visits. Yeah.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Gary. Great job.
So the next item is the Student Achievement Benchmark Summary.
So when we had our special meeting and presented the student benchmarks, the action plans, I had told the board at that point that I would put in my report a summary because President Paoli wasn't able to be here. So in that, it's really just a recap of the data and then the action plan that corresponds with the data. And then at the end, you'll see the site action plans as well. So this is just a quick recap so that folks, if they had missed it on the 8th because we weren't able to televise it, this just memorializes it a little bit more so that it is now televised. People can go through and look at the slides. They're in the agenda. It's linked to today. There's no changes. It's all the same from before. But I just want to put it out there again that the sites really did an incredible amount of work to look at their data, to really have thoughtful plans on how to move forward. And when we meet again in February for the next benchmark reporting, we'll be able to look back on this and really review growth. So, questions?
No, thank you. It is a lot of work. You could tell from the template that's been provided, but thank you for the very thorough information. It was pretty exciting to view.
I don't have a question, but I just want to make a comment that during my time on the board, I just want to acknowledge the work that the staff in our district has done. We have done a huge shift over those 6 or 7 years. It's become, have the vulnerability that I think staff has to open themselves up to really look at the data and have these conversations. And I just want them to know that we appreciate that work and the professionalism and the end product that they are providing to the community. So thank you for that.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. CTE report?
So this is a fun report because we got to get some pictures and see what's going on. So what we did, we asked all of our pathways to drop in pictures and a little blurb about each of their pathways. And so what you see is what we received. And I think what was more intriguing, I don't know if intriguing is the word, but more uplifting was looking at the student pictures.
Yeah.
You read the words, but when you see kids being kids, and even if they're masked, we're just so happy to have kids back in our schools. So it's been, what I loved about this is just the student interaction, and don't get alarmed with the fire, that they do that every year. That's using a fire extinguisher. So I love how they threw that in there. And then the artwork speaks for itself. It's really just lovely. So I was impressed with what all of our departments were doing. I know that you've read through this. I just want to put a plug out for Ms. Duran is here. She is our brand-new middle school ag teacher, and she's part of the CTE report. And so, Becca, I know you're here. If you'd like to say anything about your program, I would really like to just sing praises to what the ag department is doing. Becca has jumped in with both feet and has already taken her kids to events. I believe your team won the opening and closing competition in Ukiah. Ag has done incredibly well. So is there anything you'd like to say?
Just a little bit.
Okay, up to the mic, please.
Podiums are not my friend. So we actually, the opening and closing competition, our middle school teams competed in the novice class, which was also a combination of majority high school students, and we took first through third. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was really, really exciting. And the kids, that's when the buy-in happened. Because, we tell them all the time about the FFA and what they can do, and they just don't get it until they actually do it and then really like it. So that buy-in's happening, the momentum is building, and we're doing really, really fun things in class. You haven't seen the pictures yet. They're near the bottom, but our 6th through 8th grade, they're doing great. They're doing things hands-on all the time. I'm getting generous animal, I wouldn't say donations because we're not keeping them, but we get livestock donated to use for a day, and then our students get the opportunity to use them hands-on. So after Thanksgiving, we'll be getting in some dairy goats. Yeah.
How fun.
And the kids, they have a blast. So lots of good things. You see there, we're doing community service activities. And the middle school level, there's not a whole lot of activity at the state level, but there's plans for that to happen, and I'm actually part of those plans. So that's really, really exciting. Yeah, stay tuned for more updates.
Becca, is this the middle school hoop house, or is this the high school hoop house?
This is our middle school greenhouse, and
Okay.
those are the 6th graders in our farm table class working out there.
Nice.
Yep. All right, that's
Great.
it. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you, Becca, and thank you for being here. I have to say that this was fun watching happen. I'd go back in and see what new pictures are there now. I really love what folks have put in in their descriptions. So you can see the love and the soul and the heart that's involved here. So it's great for our children. Thank you, Becca.
And I also liked how they were collaborating together. If they had extra produce, it went to the culinary. I
Right.
think that it was pretty, they were helping each other. So I really liked that connection as well. So the next item is career and college report.
So we wanted to give you just a brief update of what's happening in our Career and College Center. Eve Yeomans is the newly appointed Career and College Center Specialist. She works full-time, 40 hours a week, and she staffs the Career and College Center. You can see all the great things that she's been doing. It's really a work in progress. When we started this position, Eve's question to me was, okay, tell me about the job. And I said, well, we're going to figure that out. And so we still continue to add, take away, add is what Eve will tell you. She's doing a great job and really been patient with us as we've been going through this. So I'm hoping you can see all the great things that she's done in there and how she's working with kids and planning college trips and coordinating with CTE. So we also have her as the CTE program coordinator. So with that, we wanted to give you just a little taste of what's happening in there, but we're happy to have it fully staffed again. Mary Makala staffed it in its inaugural years, and then Mary decided to retire, which really wasn't in the master plan. But we're happy to have Mary on the board. So it's not been properly utilized since your departure. So we finally have it up and running and kids moving in and out of there again. So that's been exciting. Questions?
I'm just going to comment that it's wonderful to see somebody back in there, and Eve is the perfect person. She worked a lot with me, and she knows her stuff, so.
Very enthusiastic.
Yes.
Yes, go get her.
She's making lots of phone calls already.
Yes, indeed, right?
Shall I continue?
Yes, so the
So,
next item.
The next one is the bilingual family liaisons, and with us is Martha Lopez. This is another one of those positions that has started out with a conceptual idea and really came from our LCAP collaborations with the community, and it started out with Martha and I having these conversations when she came on board. Well, what do you think it looks like? Well, how should we do this? Originally, the plan, believe it or not, was that we would have one bilingual family liaison, and that person would be the rover throughout the district. Then as we continued looking at it, I remember sitting with Wendy and I'm like, I don't know how one person's going to do all this. So we carved things out in the budget and said, okay, let's try for two. And the original plan, the second original plan, was that the two would be assigned to schools. One would be assigned to Redwood and the middle school, and the other would be Dana Gray and the high school, just for proximity. Then Martha and Maricruz came on board, and we sat down and they said, well, you know, it really makes more sense for us to work with families. Because if we have a family with 3 or 4 kids and they go to 2 or 3 different schools, they shouldn't have to work with both of us. And that way we can really meet the needs of the families. So I just backed off and said, okay, Martha, Maricruz, tell us what you need to do. And Martha has been really at the forefront of sitting me down and saying, Becky, that's not going to work. Okay, Becky, this is how it's going to work better. And so what I appreciate about her is her professionalism, her foresight, and her vision for how this can work. And what's great about Maricruz is that she's been working with Migrant Ed for the last several years. So again, she has vision, really a good perspective. They're a fabulous team together. And so we were in a meeting the other day and I said something and I saw the two of them look at each other, and then, you know, the next day Martha calls me, okay, Becky, we need to discuss this a little bit more. Okay, tell me. And it's because they're boots on the ground. They're in the trenches helping our families. And as of today, on their spreadsheet, they're monitoring the families that they're working with and the children that they're working with. So when a teacher calls or an administrator calls, they can go to their spreadsheet and see who is in charge of that family. They're working with 444 kids in the district right now, actively. And what's amazing is that they have been moving and grooving since day one. And we meet once a month to recap. And we look at each other and we say, well, what did we do before you were here? So it's been an incredible beginning and really building the ship, or the plane in flight, as you would say. I really appreciate Martha and Maricruz, and I know I lean on Martha a lot, and I appreciate just, again, vision, foresight, professionalism. They actually got the Mexican consulate to come to Fort Bragg on December 11th and are going to work with our families so that they can get the proper documentation for residency and employment. So they're doing great work. We have their information included in this background sheet, and I have nothing but great things to say. And Martha, I don't know if you want to come to the podium and say anything, and you don't have to. She asked me today, please don't ask me lots of questions.
Well, I'm usually to do public speaking. This is kind of intimidating, even when it's a small group. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. When Becky came up with this idea, I was like, this is great. And then I was like, maybe I would like to do that. So I'm happy. People ask me, do you like your new job? And I always say it's very rewarding. It has been a wonderful experience to be able to help all these families. I am grateful for the opportunity to work with the principals. I know Mr. Kill is here. The other day I was like, Mr. Kill, can I have 1 minute with you? And he's like, yeah. You know, he's eating and he's like, okay, like, you know, and I'm so grateful for the principals because they are open their minds and their hearts to our families, and they see they're saying, oh, this is a great idea, what we were doing before, and the families are coming to us. And I was telling Becky the other day, a mom said like, well, I had court, and apparently the person went to court and said, well, they have 2 ladies that are helping them at the school. So I'm like, yeah, we're famous. So I am grateful for this opportunity. It is a lot of work. There's a lot of need out there with our families, but it is a very rewarding work. And thank you everybody for your support.
Great,
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you for building relationships because I know that, so will we have, the DLAC and ELAC, will they report to us their needs, and this liaison will help?
Yes. So when we met yesterday, one of the things that we decided was that we need to restructure how we do our ELAC and DLACs.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is that we are looking at the Migrant Ed model, and Migrant Ed gets 16 families to come to their monthly meetings. Is that correct? Is it monthly? And those 16 families, there are families.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do our ELAC meetings, we only get 1 or 2. And then we
Mhm.
get our DLAC meetings, we get 1 or 2. Well, it's because it's too many meetings,
Mhm.
right? If a mom's gonna go to the Redwood ELAC and the Dana Gray ELAC and the DLAC meeting, then she's gonna mix it up and say, okay, you do that one, I'll do this one. So what makes more sense is to follow that Migrant Ed model and do them together. So Martha and Maricruz came to me, like I said, in our monthly meeting and said, can we do this? It would help our families. And that's been the really rewarding part for me, is to not have to think about those things and really watch them just take flight in capturing the needs of our families and bringing it back to us. Well, of course we can do that. That makes perfect sense. So that's been wonderful for me, that we have 2 people who I trust with my life to be able to help our families, and know that if I would send my own family to them, and I know that they're doing everything they can for every family exactly as they would for their own.
Mhm.
So it's pretty remarkable, the things that are happening and how quickly we can get them done, because they see a need and they're just kind of cutting through, this is what we need to do now, Becky. Okay, let's figure out how to do it.
Mhm.
And they'll always say, do you need us to check back in? No, just go do it.
Yeah.
And they're doing it really beautifully. So yes, we will be having ELAC and DLAC report. We're going to restructure those meetings so that it's more convenient for our families. And we will have a DLAC report for you. The good news is they work together in a very tiny office with Tina Krenoff. So they're all there talking together, and they'll make sure that Tina's involved. So it's really good. It's a really good coordinated effort right now.
Great. Yeah,
We're
impressive numbers that you're connecting with.
Yeah, we are so fortunate to have you and Maricruz. I'm amazed, 444 kids, I don't know how you do it.
Well, I do want to say that this is not just fluff on a paper, because you guys, I've seen you at every open house. I mean, and they're huddled around them.
Yeah.
And it was very, I've known Martha since my boy was at Redwood, and she is so amazing. But I mean, it really is true. This is not, again, I've seen it. And so not only are the families, but thank you. I can't thank you enough for, I don't even know how long your day is, but I've seen you at lots of things, and the families are, you can just tell they're so grateful. So thank you.
And I know it was a huge hit and loss for Redwood when Martha came over, but I have to tell you, the timing of it was quite perfect. COVID has caused so much upheaval that we really do need them at such a profound level. And what is really heartwarming for me is to watch little kids who know Martha from Redwood, Miss Martha, and they come up and hug her, and she'll immediately start talking to them, and they'll show her whatever they have in their pockets at that point. But already having that relationship with kids shows an immediate trust with families, and the families have just incredibly embraced both Martha and Maricruz, and the resources that they're able to connect our families with has really been just probably one step below a social worker, to be quite honest with you, or a social worker, caseworker. They've been able to connect our families with so many things. So it's been a huge benefit. We're seeing lots of families who are really gleaning the benefits from their great work and providing more trust in the school, which means more involvement. So we're thrilled.
Win-win. Yeah,
It's
win-win.
really amazing.
So we'll still continue to wait for Don Alameda. Do we have an update of his whereabouts?
I don't, I've been kind of checking my emails. I mean, if you want
Thank
to
you so
do
much.
a cursory look at it and then ask him more questions when he gets here. His report is in the front of the packet, and it goes over I think some basic timelines. We're hoping if things go well that we'll be able to start, scratching around at Redwood maybe in January, depending on the weather and that. And then I think next summer, All Dead will be starting, hopefully, if all goes well. And then he's got his budget format there, and then the last couple of pages are more detailed of my cost tracking for you to take a look at so you can see where we're spending the funds and what the contracts for those are.
That's exciting. Break ground in January. Knock on wood.
Maybe.
All goes
So
well.
that's in a nutshell where we are, but you have a.
And this reflects the reduction of the project from the last meeting. There was
From
no-
Yes,
Alt-Ed.
yeah, the budget for Alt-Ed
Right.
does reflect that.
So it's the 10 instead of the,
So it's, yeah. Wasn't something we, were hoping to do, but it was so far over, we had to scale it back a bit.
does anyone have any questions for Wendy? And we'll definitely return to this item when we see Mr. Alameda.
We're hoping to have some kind of update for you every month at this point until, we break ground. And it may just be a couple of minutes, nothing new.
Right.
And it might be, okay, here's what's happening now. But we recognize that our community wants to know what's happening with these dollars. So knock on wood, we're hoping, like she said, breaking ground in January for Redwood. If you've been out to Redwood yet, you can see that the portables are out. It looks completely different out there. And then Alt-Ed, we're hoping Alt-Ed goes fast, but it'll be right out here. So lots of big things happening on the horizon.
Yeah.
Exciting.
It is exciting, and maintenance that needs to, or not maintenance, buildings that need to be replaced.
Yes.
So we'll move on to the next item, which is the California Schools Employee Association, CSEA report. Do we have a report this evening?
We do. Martha Lopez is the new president for the California School Employee
Exciting.
Association.
Thank you. New title, another
New
title.
Martha. Well, good evening, everyone. I wrote this one this time, and so I'm here tonight to introduce myself. My name is Martha Lopez, and I am the new chapter president for CSEA. I'm excited and nervous at the same time about this opportunity, but grateful to be part of FBUSD, working under your leadership. I have been with FBUSD since 2015, first as an instructional assistant, then as a secretary 3 at Redwood, and now as a bilingual family liaison serving district-wide. I have had the opportunity to see firsthand the needs and challenges that COVID has brought to our schools. It has been not easy, but I'm grateful for the open communications that we have with Superintendent Walker. I would also like to let you know there has been a change of leadership on our board. Barbara Stecker will remain as our vice president. Kelly Sutton will be our new treasurer, and Chris Price will remain as our secretary. So please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you may have, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Martha.
much.
Thank you.
And our next item is the FBDTA, Fort Bragg District Teachers Association report.
And this is Gary Lewis. He is the president of FBDTA.
Hello again, everybody. So, at the beginning of the year, when I first came, we talked about trying to focus these reports on LCAP-related goals. And so this month, I wanted to come and talk a little bit about school culture and efforts at building on school culture. I would like to be able to bring something from every site, but I have to be honest that this year, as I'm sure everybody's aware, people are working at max capacity, and getting folks to take extra time to provide reports is, I think they would do it if I pushed them, but I also don't feel comfortable pushing people that are already exhausted and doing amazing work, just staying on top of things. So it's just going to be for a couple of sites. Hopefully in future meetings we'll be able to get a bit more spread. But first of all, I wanted to mention something that's going on at the middle school. Back in the spring, Erica Mulsum, the All-Star counselor over there, applied for a grant from the Institute for Teaching, which is a CTA organization. So it's available to members of CTA. And it's looking at supporting innovative ways of improving schools. And in that application, she put forward a vision of the middle school library as being something more than just a place to go get books or do your homework, but as a sort of central hub for the community at the middle school. And she was awarded $20,000, and the project just got going. We got the money about 3 weeks ago, so she just started spending. And the vision that they're putting together there, they are putting in a makerspace into the library, a game room, and she has this vision of it being a place where student clubs can meet, students can come and, you know, bond with each other through shared interests, but also as a space for the larger community, so PTA meetings or student council meetings, any sort of community stuff. And she's really, you know, working to make that a place that brings the people together at the middle school. And so as that starts to move along, just started making purchases 2 weeks ago, so I'm hoping that in coming months we'll be able to provide some photos and some updates on the progress there. But it looks like a really exciting project that they've got going on. The other thing I wanted to talk about was actually following up from what Connie was reporting on. As she said, Lauren, our coach, was with us this week. And the reason he was with us was this was exhibition week. And it sort of got us thinking about the culture and the changes that we're making over at Alt-Ed. And, you know, when we started off with Big Picture Learning, it was really, the focus was on how to bring a more rigorous and meaningful education, right? But as we've gone into the process, it's clear that it became clear that a major part of that was changing the school culture, right? And really making some positive shifts. And it's been a challenge, but we're getting there. But this week, I think, was I wouldn't say it was the first time that we saw the major shift, but it was a really powerful experience to see where things are at. I'm going to show a video in a couple of minutes that I have not seen. It was what Connie was going to show. So I'm just going to say if it's Connie's fault. So exhibition week, the way this sort of fits in, right, is at the end of each trimester. So we use a learning cycle process. So at the beginning of a trimester, the students sit down, they create a plan for themselves for the next 12 weeks. They work through that, and then at the end of it, they have exhibition week. And the sort of purpose of exhibition week is kind of twofold. One is it's the accountability process. It's sort of our equivalent of, you know, finals. This is where you show us what you've learned, right? And then the other part of it is a celebration of their successes. And the way it works is students stand up in front of the entire school, in front of parents, and in February in front of board members and superintendents and anybody else that wants to come. And they have to walk us through what they've done. And in terms of school culture, I think that where it really stood out for me was the level of respect that they showed for each other, the level of seriousness that they took it. Every student stood up there and was prepared. They'd spent hours prepping slides and presentations and getting their work together. They had evidence of work to hand out to audience members, and throughout the whole process, students were paying attention. They were asking questions of each other. They were supporting each other. And really, fundamentally, what we saw is this lifting of the bar, right? And it's that kind of, and not that just the staff raising their expectations of the students, but the students raising their expectations of themselves. And, you know, we're seeing it throughout the school now, this kind of, as Lauren had said in his video, like students calling each other out for not being professional and not, you know, and things like that. And they're starting to hold themselves to a different standard that I think in previous years, they haven't believed in themselves enough, and they haven't pushed themselves to be the best that they can be. And we're starting to see a move towards that. And it's a really exciting time. It was an inspiring week. And so this video, it's a couple of minutes long. This is a student in my advisory, actually. She came to us in middle school, very shy, struggling, and she's sort of identified an interest in nail art. She wants to be a nail tech, and so she's been doing a lot of work. One of the things that going into this year, we were able to spend a nice chunk of money, thanks to Becky, on a lot of equipment that the students are able to do a lot of hands-on stuff. And so as part of her presentation, she did a little showcase where she sat down and kind of walked us through the sort of shaping and painting of a nail. So if you want to go ahead and hit play, we'll see what it looks like.
It's great. Okay, these are the nails. Connie, don't record me.
Great, great, you're doing a great job, keep going. Do that now. And then, do that one. These ones are clear and these ones are white. And supposedly, you're supposed to open it and find the shape for the finger to measure it. Everyone understand?
Find a shape to measure it? Is that what you said? Okay.
Measure what? Like the finger, like the tip of the finger so it fits. Because if it's too big, it's just gonna look stupid. And if it's small, it's just going to pop out. So, you got like this one, look at this one. Remember looking like this? Okay. So, find the blue. This is the blue. You see the blue? And then, I'm gonna take green. And then you file the bottom. Because if you don't file the bottom, it's gonna look bad. So you file. My bad.
So are you filing the bottom of the nail that you're gonna apply?
Yeah, because. No. You just file it because the rest is filed, so it's just gonna be bad.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it doesn't even fit it at all.
Like all the acrylic things always, other than white, are they always clear?
Well,
Paint over them?
the acrylic could also be clear, red, white, black, and all of them. Like,
All colors? Well, some of them-
that's the acrylic for the nail.
I'll say, it was hard, I know it was hard to hear some of it, but, the young lady is really sassy, and she had a really sassy thing going on with Gary too. Gary kept asking her questions, and she just kept giving these somewhat sassy replies.
She's a pain in the butt in the best possible way. And, you know, Connie had mentioned earlier spot lessons. That young lady actually taught a spot lesson to other students a few weeks ago, showing them how to do some basic nail stuff. And she's actually going to be, as part of our Leaving to Learn, she's going to be heading to TLC and doing nails for some of the folks over there and what have you. But anyway, so that's just an example. You know, it's a part of this shift, as I say, towards self-respect and accountability for the students that I think has often been lacking. The reality is that when students come to us, they often have pretty low self-esteem. You know, for better or worse, they feel like they are failing, and we're starting to see a shift away from that being the collective feeling towards a much stronger sense of who they are and what they can do, and a positive perspective on life after school. So I'm going to do it. So that was Exhibition Week. Just a couple of other little things related to school culture at our school. About a week ago, a couple of students came to Connie saying, hey, we don't like the school policy that doesn't allow us to go off campus at lunch, right? The other high school gets to do it, why don't we? And so, you know, they were given the answer that they always get now, well, what are you going to do about it? And so they sat down and they kind of met with students and they talked and they found out what other people's perspectives were. They put together some proposals and then actually had a meeting with Becky a couple of days ago. She came over to the school and spent a good amount of time going through it. And as a team, they were able to come up with a proposal that they're going to be presenting to the rest of the school tomorrow that will allow, under the guidelines that they come up with, students to have open campus at lunchtime for the first time in forever, for many, many years. And again, it's an example of the students taking control and saying, like, we know what we want and we know the right way to try to make it happen. And actually out of that, they are now working on putting together a student council that will be able to sort of look at some of these things and work with staff to make adjustments to things with their input. So.
And you'll see that on the December 9th board meeting. That'll be part of my report. That happened this week. The agenda was already done. But it was it was interesting because they didn't think they had a chance. And so when Connie called me, I said, well, sure, I'll meet with them. And so I decided, I was really impressed that they had sent me a document beforehand. They showed me everything that they wanted included. So it wasn't just, hey, we want to talk about this. It was actually prepared with sentences and in a document, in a Google Doc that I could look at. So I went down to Piachi and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to reward them and bring them lunch. So I went down to Piachi, and the owner, who is a fabulous human being, he said, is this for school? And I said, well, you know what? It's actually for a couple of NOYO students who are doing a proposal, and I'm so impressed with the work that they're doing. I want to reward them with lunch. So I took out my checkbook, and he said, you know what? The pizza's on me. It's for the kids. So that again, paying it forward and good work. So I think they were more excited about the pizza than meeting with me, to be quite honest with you. But it was legitimate pizza, which, not that the other pizzas in town aren't legitimate, all of you out there. So in any case, they're doing great work. You'll see that product at our December 9th meeting. And COVID has been really tricky on all of our kids. There's not one student out there who has not been scathed by some way, shape, or form because of COVID. And I think it's more exaggerated, and not exaggerated, it's more prevalent, I think, in our alt ed. With our kids who struggle already, COVID really did a number on a lot of them. And to be able to come back to big picture learning, I have to tell you the timing could not have been better. COVID was a blessing in the sense that the staff really had some time to get some things together that I don't know how you would have done big picture if we didn't have COVID, where you had all that time.
No, I mean, we essentially reopened as an entirely new school and program, and it's been a lot of time. But as Vic said, it's the perfect time because for a lot of reasons, having that time, but also from that school culture perspective, we had like a cutoff point, and we came back, and when we came back in person, it was a different program, and it enabled us to kind of have a clean slate coming in. And so, while we would never, it feels wrong to look for any positives in the whole COVID pandemic, with all things considered, the reality is that it has allowed us to do some things that I don't think we could have done had it not happened.
I would agree with you, and there's a lot of changes that happened at alt ed, and so I know this is not an alt ed report, this is FPDTA report. There's lots of great things happening in the district, and what I appreciate is that our teachers, our staff, they are all working to the best of their ability to meet every single dart that gets thrown at them. And when we met as a board at the workshop, and we sent out an email on all of your behalf, because you recognize so clearly how hard this has been and how you were moved with looking at the action plans and the benchmark data. All that is because our staff is coming together and really laser focused on students. It's been hard. We have not anticipated some of the things that have happened, but I will echo that there's always something positive from the storm. And we have had some very positive results come from COVID, and I'm grateful for the staff and what they've done. So to Martha and to Gary, please convey how much we are so appreciative of the team being a team. And there's no greater time for us to have come together, and I'm so grateful that it's happened.
Yeah.
So,
No, they're doing an amazing job, and you know, I will say that while everybody is exhausted and it feels far more like April than it does the week before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
there are no complaints coming from the membership. Everybody, you know, is in this and they're committed and they're doing what they need to do, and they're working at 100% every day. And you know, and I think we're seeing that in how well the school year is going. You know, I think coming in, we didn't know what to expect. It was a whole new world, and I think you know, they're doing a fantastic job. And you know, and Becky can attest to this. We've been able to cancel a round table for like 3-4 weeks because things are going amazingly smoothly. You know, we don't have to. No, and you know, and I, you know, I'm proud of the work that everybody in the district's doing, and you know, I hope that over the coming months we can really showcase more of that. But like I say, I want to be respectful of their time and not expect them to give any more than they're already giving where possible. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to get the information we want without asking them to go to the well one more time and spend time writing reports for me or writing things for me. So we'll keep working at it.
thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, verbal
you.
reports are great. And I think that's wonderful. And I think everyone's more engaged. I think kids feel happy to be back. Maybe we took some stuff for granted, and teachers are feeling engaged and, you know, appreciated. And I think it's just been, for a short amount of time we've been back in person since August, it's pretty impressive, the results. And the kids seem, you know, very happy.
So
that's-
happy to be
it's
back.
very
And
heartwarming.
This has been such a wonderful evening. I just have to say that, you know, the work of the board, a lot of it is budgets and board policies and some of the dry stuff I know you all come out to see because it's pretty good stuff. But this was so heartwarming. I mean, this is why we're all here. You know, it's about people, our students, our staff, our families, our community. And everybody was represented tonight. I'm gonna get teary. So anyway, it was really wonderful. Thank you all so much. And do thank the staff. We're really fortunate here. We really are.
And we really do enjoy the 2 union reports, even if it's only
Yes.
from half the sites or whatnot. I mean, that is like
It's
Mary
good
said,
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
the stuff that keeps us all going. And, you know, even if they can shoot a picture and
Yeah.
give a short, I mean, I know everybody is tapped out,
Right.
but it is nice to celebrate.
Yeah.
And just a reminder for the public, the only time the board gets together and talks is at a meeting.
Yeah.
It's the only time we can get the 5 of them together. It's the only time they can have any kind of discussion, but they can only discuss and talk about what's on the agenda. And one of the things that I learned very quickly when my first year as superintendent, I think, were you the president? Jerry was the president, and Kathy was on board, but you were the vice president. And I was told very early on, we need to spend 60% of our meeting time talking about kids. And it's been hard to do that lately, but today we're doing it. So thank you all for
Yes.
everything that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will go back up the agenda to the modernization bond update for, I think we have Donald Alameda here.
Hi, Don. Thank you for coming.
No problem. I'm happy to finally meet you guys.
And before you speak, Don, Martha and Gary, if you need to wiggle out, thank you for coming. Hi, Don.
Hi.
We're back.
Good- Yeah, good to see you guys. Anyway, what I'd like to do on a monthly basis, you've probably seen a couple of them already, is a monthly report. And the components of it basically is establishing a budget for each project and enumerating what that is. And then give you a status on a monthly basis of where we are with that project and a schedule. They're not quite fleshed out yet as far as schedule. I mean, they're loose right now. And then as we get started, I'll give you progress photos in the report as well. There's not much to take pictures of right now. So that's kind of the gist of what the report is. And then, of course, open for any questions that you have. I've been at it, I guess, a couple months, 3, 4, 5 months now. I'm glad I'm finally meeting with you. Where we really got the movement going is in phase 1. The architect, and you probably well know this, they did it in 2 phases. One is a baby phase, which is get out there and do some dirt work. And the second phase is do the rest of the building. So we just yesterday got the DSA permit for doing the phase 1 work.
Really?
And so they'll get the stamped documents today. I haven't had a chance to look at my email to see if they got it yet, but so I'm trying to meet with FRC tomorrow or Monday and kick things off, because where they're anxious, and rightfully so, is we're in kind of a wet weather to go be tearing up dirt, so we want to get out there as fast as we can, tear up the dirt what we can, other than like right now where it's pouring, because it can get pretty sloppy trying to do that early work in the wet winter season. So, so I'll be meeting with them and with QK the next day or so to try to get that kicked off. The one thing we did early on, Barry and I, we got rid of the old mods, so we're ready and poised to go. We've been kind of sitting in a holding pattern waiting for that permit to get cut free, and that got cut free yesterday.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Totally worth the wait, Don. Good job.
Well, it was nice to get the buildings out of the way, and now we're poised to go. So FRC, what they'll do now is a minimum of 2 weeks, probably 3, because it's the phase 1's pretty simple. It's just site work, or there's not a lot of disciplines. So they probably in about 3 weeks, they'll get the bids from the subcontractors and give us at least a guaranteed maximum price. And that's what we'll be bringing forward to do the site work. Likewise, hopefully in the next, it's always nebulous with DSA, but within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we hope to get the permit for the rest of the job. And they can let that out, because we want to get out and get the real numbers from the subcontractors, what this thing's really going to cost. And then make any adjustments we need to in the budgets, and then move forward with phase 1. But it's pretty straightforward. Both projects are new construction, so you're not going to have all the things jumping out at you. Like I know you probably experienced modernizations that have been pretty ugly. New construction can have its challenges. It's usually getting out of the ground. Once we're out of the ground, it goes a lot smoother. The only other things I see out there on phase 1 is PG&E's been taking on a lot of time to do their quote engineering for their side of the work, so that could be a bit of a holdup. But compared to modernization, it's we should have a much easier time with these projects. And then simultaneously, QK is moving forward with phase 2, the Alt Ed campus. I know they met with you at a special board meeting about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and they're making adjustments we're trying to hone in and stay within our budget. I mean, that's my mantra is, we got to stay in budget. And many times as we need to revisit it, we got to stay in budget. So they're working forward with that. We've got, from your board approval last time, we have a consultant doing a CEQA, because Alt Ed is a new site that's not technically part of the school. You have to go and look for, the red salamanders or whatever. So we're going through that process right now. I'm really open for questions now, because it's being the first time. Have you had a chance to look at the budgets? Do you have any questions on what our assumptions are?
What level of CEQA scrutiny, and there was like 3 different levels of cost. Do you know
Right.
which one we're going to be mandated to use?
We're shooting for the middle one.
Mandate the negative declaration?
Yes, yeah. When you do a modernization or you do an add-on to an existing campus, usually the CEQA process is pretty straightforward. It's just pretty much a letter from the attorney and you voting saying there's no impact. The second level is a mitigated neg deck, and that's probably where that's where the CEQA is going right now, is a mitigated neg deck, because it's a new campus. So, but the CEQA consultant is just getting started on that, so we'll see where that goes. They did, as part of that, we had to hire a firm to do look at the site for toxics, and that came back, the phase 1 part of the toxic research, and it's a clean site, so that bodes well. And so they'll be moving forward on that.
Great, thank you.
So you've seen these images from last board meeting, probably, but That's where phase 2 is going right now.
Can I ask a kind of dumb question? But
There's no dumb
I'm not a
questions.
builder. There's no dumb questions. Usually
Yeah.
a teacher. What does CEQA stands for?
Oh, California Environmental Quality Act.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was written in the 1970s or something.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's
Thank
certain
you.
mandates they have to do to meet CEQA, and because it's not already a school site, we're kind of in the middle range.
Right. Okay,
So.
thank you.
So will that process require a public hearing or anything, or it's not quite that extensive? Like when you hear CEQA in city world, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's as much as what people want to make of it. I mean, the public meeting are these meetings, because you're the board that declares it as a neg deck or not.
We're not gonna have to do an environmental impact report.
Okay.
That's-
We're not
Yeah,
we're not
no EIR.
anticipating having
No,
to do
no.
an
And
EIR.
that's where you end up with public hearings.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
all that.
And
yeah.
some halts and stuff.
Yeah, no, we really don't see it going to a full-blown environmental impact report.
Okay. 'Cause that would be an unknown cost and delay.
Yeah, then it starts spiraling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you'll come back next month to give us, and maybe you'll have, hopefully the
I hope by
difference in
next month
numbers.
we'll have a more firm schedule from the contractor, rather than, I know we've got a loose schedule of wanting to get breaking ground and so on, but once we get the contractor defining what he's doing, we'll get a more detailed schedule that I could share with you, as well as whatever. I just know costs have gone crazy because of COVID and a number of other reasons, so, I wouldn't be surprised if we get bids and we're gonna have to make some adjustments. Hopefully not. Hopefully we're conservative enough, but it doesn't seem like there's enough conservatism in budgets these days to deal with what's happening out there in the bidding front right now. But
So any other questions from the board?
No, we'll just expect nothing but good news from here on out.
Under budget.
yeah, I can't say it's going to be a cakewalk, but it should be a lot easier than your experiences with modernizations. And the contractor FRC, I've worked with QK a couple of times. They're really great to work with, and I've worked with FRC a bunch of times, and he's really great to work with. He'll bend over backwards to make things work.
Where are they based out of?
They were originally out of Petaluma, now they're out of Windsor. But they have a lot of local, I've done, most of my work is up here in Mendocino, even though I'm in Sebastopol. And most of their staff, or a good measure of their staff, is from up here. The superintendent is Brandon, and he's out of Potter Valley. I consider Potter Valley local for up there. In fact, he worked on your Dana project as a young buck with another contractor, so they're familiar with the area. There's a couple other guys out of Potter Valley that work for him, so they're real excited to not have to commute down to the office to work. They'd rather work up here, so they're a really good group to work with. So I see that we're going to have a real positive outcome here.
Great, thank you.
So,
Thank you,
okay.
Don.
Thank you.
Okay,
for
thank you.
your time.
All right.
Travel safe.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that completes our reports for this evening, and next we have approval of agenda consent items. These are consent calendar items provided routine and non-controversial, and items on the consent agenda are passed in one motion without discussion, and any items may be pulled from the consent agenda by the board and moved to action when approving the agenda. So if we can have Vice President Makala read the items.
Okay, we have item 9.1, warrants dated October 1 through October 31, 2021. We have item 9.2, minutes, October 21st, 2021, regular meeting. We have item 9.3, our personnel action report with the addition of an extended personal leave for Danny Dawson. And we have item 9.4, contracts.
Okay, so may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent, the consent items.
And is there a second?
Second?
Okay, second with Jerry. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Seeing no objection, the voice vote carries. So we're now to our board action items. The first is 10.1, teleconferencing virtual meeting requirements pursuant to AB 361. So we put this on the agenda. I don't know if we'll continue to put this on the agenda, probably, because it's an option. that if we need to change our procedural requirements so that we can meet by Zoom or Google Meet, because right now we are not allowed under the governor's orders any longer. We have to meet in person unless we do, which I don't see the attachments, to follow the AB 361 requirements. We have to have a vote, and it has to be an open meeting and a resolution passed to have it go back to a virtual for COVID reasons. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or discussion, if that's something that anyone.
So Mary, did you see the email today from Kim Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, so Mary and I attended the Three Rivers board meeting earlier this week, and the discussion came up about the virtual meetings and how it needs to be done. And we were both under the impression from previous legal updates on what needed to happen. And so we asked Kim to check on it because she was working on it with her board because they're still meeting virtually. And she had sent us another legal update that I just missed, to be quite honest with you. And so it's a little bit easier to do virtual meetings if we want to do it, or if we want to just have it on the ready. So because I know there were some weird things for December that we were talking about, if you wanted to have this as an option, we could do that now. You don't have to list your location. You don't have to post the agenda outside your car, any of that. So it's up to you if you want to have that on hold for December, but it doesn't mean that you have to have a virtual meeting in December.
Right.
But you have to have the vote to do it before you have the meeting.
Yeah, we meet the criteria because your health officer had to make a recommendation and ours did, but, I mean, we've been doing fine, but.
Right.
So it spelled it out pretty clearly, we could do it.
And was it a legal authority that she was given? From,
Yeah, it
well,
was-
I'm just wondering, because when I read the lengthy memo from legal, is more about you kind of were converting for like, for a while. It wasn't just for convenience because someone's going to be out of town. So that's what I'm a little bit, because it's hard for the public.
Can you send me that too, because the other groups on which I sit have been struggling with this also, and, the side-by-side of the AB 361 and the Brown Act. Yes, the Brown Act has provision for it, but it does require you to list the location where everybody is on the agenda. So I would love to see that too.
I'm sending it to you now.
Yeah.
And it's weird, I just tried to open the link, which I opened at home, and now it says I have to sign into the organization, and I didn't earlier.
Maybe it gave you one free look.
Maybe so, it was the Charter Schools
Okay,
Development Center.
I just sent it to everybody, so if you go into your inbox, you can hopefully see it.
Well, I personally feel that if we are open for school, that we should be meeting. But then I also see the importance if a majority of us, for some reason, end up on quarantine or something like that, that I would like us to, I don't know, I guess that's wanting your cake and eating it too. But
Just have the
I just
option.
worry that, if something comes up and 3 of us end up on quarantine, that we can't have a meeting.
Right.
But we could if we were home. So that would be my only, we are just on such uncertain times, and we have no idea what could be thrown at us.
Right. I mean, I see that, the point of that, if you do have, 3 of your members that are in quarantining and feeling okay, and you can still do business, but just for doing it as convenience, because I think it would be confusing to the public. Because the other thing that I'm thinking about is if you commit to this process, that means everyone has to be virtual and you have to have no one in person, or just, you could just half and half doing a hybrid. I mean, that's where I don't think that it's meant for that. I think it's like all or nothing, and that would be hard for the public to know, oh, is it this month going to be a virtual, or is it going to be, I just don't want to get into that, using it as a convenience tool when it could be used. But if we have to, so we could take an action tonight to say, if we have a quorum issue because due to COVID, that we would go virtual, and we could do that within a 30-day period because we voted. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying we could do? Not for convenience and just choose half of us do virtual, or we just choose because, three of us want to go down, down to San Francisco. We're going to do a virtual. I don't want to get into
No.
that.
And I don't
Yeah.
either.
No.
Yeah, so.
But I really, we've been lucky.
The Brown Act language specifically requires that a quorum be present within the jurisdiction. And that if anybody
three.
is not attending in person, that they have to post where they are attending.
Mm-hmm,
And so it would have to be on the agenda that this person is attending from
right,
Scottsdale.
Right.
And they have to make wherever they are accessible.
and then their vote counts, but you have to have a
Right.
quorum in person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in district.
in district.
Yeah, so the Brown Act has provisions for that if you have somebody who has to be away for some reason, like if they're quarantined or whatever. The other one, but I'm very anxious to look at this other one too, because we've been struggling with that with other boards, like I said, that trying to do the right thing and, having lists this long of the locations because it's a Mendocino and Lake County group and so there's, that's what they're doing is putting all of those locations on the agenda, so.
And if you look at the legal update that I just sent you, it says Brown Act teleconferencing requirements. Each teleconference location must be physically accessible to the public. Members of the public must be able to physically address the body from each teleconference location. But with AB 361, it says public agencies do not have to let members of the public attend at each teleconference location, but must allow the public to access the meeting via a call-in or an internet-based service option. The public agency is not required to provide a physical location for the public to attend or provide comments. So,
But that's the one that requires a resolution every 30 days to continue
Right.
that.
yes.
So that,
And that makes sense that you wouldn't have to provide the access because you are doing it for COVID reasons. And you
Right.
probably don't want people at your house if you're quarantining.
No.
So, so that makes sense. Where the other one is a little, that's strange if it's for COVID reasons, you wouldn't have people at your house. No one usually comes to these other locations, but that's odd. So what are we thinking that if we have for just COVID purposes, just to have it ready?
I think
because
if we move to approve it only in the case where we do not have a quorum that can meet here because of, we're all home with COVID.
Yeah, we hope that's not.
But now, Wendy, you mentioned a resolution. I don't see that in here.
Is it a resolution or just making a motion?
I just
and
thought it was a
voting?
motion and an approval that we had to address this.
not just once, it has to happen every 30 days.
Right.
Right, exactly. And I viewed that, I don't know if maybe I looked on another agency that had,
See, what happened was
created a
originally
resolution.
there was a change and this is the second update. So
Okay.
they had changed it again, which is why Mary and I were attending the meeting at Port Three Rivers. We're like, no, that's not how it is. And Kim's like, I think it is.
I
And
just
so-
got that today.
Yeah, she said, so anyway,
So
we,
they may have eliminated that 30 days, every 30 days.
I
I
think
don't
the
think-
30 days is in there, but I
Yeah,
think the
it is.
resolution was eliminated.
Okay.
Yeah,
So your board just has to keep,
Just keep
taking action.
every month.
Mhm. So do we want to do that?
I don't see any harm in saying that within 30 days, if we don't have a quorum for in-person, that we could go virtual to conduct business. Anyone else have any?
What's the harm?
No, there's no harm.
Yeah.
And then we'll just make sure that we don't need a resolution, because maybe it won't be effective, what we do. So, may I have a motion for further discussion? And is there any public comment on the board while we're waiting?
There is no public comment.
so let's see if I can do this correctly. So I move to accept compliance with AB 361 and allow us to meet virtually if a quorum is unavailable to be in person to conduct business.
And I'll second.
Very good. So, roll call.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Very good. Okay, and we'll look at we'll make sure that that's effective, and hopefully we don't need it.
Right.
So 10.2 is the masking guidance for 2021-22 school year. We've asked to have this on the agenda every month just to check in and have Superintendent Walker give us any updates or if she has any hints of any updates that might be coming down.
So right now, there's nothing changed with the masking guidance. We did anticipate that on November 1, when CDPH met, we thought there might be some changes, but there are no changes to the schools. Individual counties have changed their masking ordinances, but there is no impact for us at this time.
Okay. Any questions from board members? Okay, and we'll just continue to keep, I guess, both of these items on just to be
So I think for the
careful.
record, you need to table
Table.
10.2, and if there's
10.2.
nothing to discuss in 10.3, you would need to table that to the next meeting as well.
Can I ask one quick question about the masking? Is there any response or from the athletics?
So just so that the public knows, the superintendents did come together in our county, and we sent Dr. Corin and the heads of CDPH a letter, and I sent that all to the board, requesting that our athletes not have to mask during competition. We engage in weekly testing, and actually our athletes are tested twice a week. And we've been able to keep COVID at bay because of that regular testing cadence. Deb Cuban did contact Dr. Corin via email, I want to say yesterday, asking what the decision was based on our letter, because other public health officers in other counties are stepping up to the concern, and they are removing that masking mandate from athletes while in competition. We have not heard from Dr. Corin as of yet.
Thank you.
And let's see if there's public comment.
Yeah. And I do know we did, some of us attended a virtual CSBA update, and we're not alone. In Northern California, they're struggling because wrestling, it's a choking hazard for wrestling, but it's not a choking hazard for basketball. And that was like the defining difference of why some health officers are not budging on that. But it's difficult because when you're in one facility in a county, different rules, and so people are just kind of frustrated.
Well, and someone sent me, not board related, I think family related, so I didn't put it under correspondence, but in Humboldt County, they're having this big struggle because the refs, the officials are standing up saying the college kids don't have to mirror them, but they're saying, anyway. So it's interesting that people are really making a stand, and they don't have enough refs to run the league because only 6 will ref with a mask on. And anyway, it's going to be an
Coming to a
interesting
head.
season.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
boys played tonight, so. And the girls, the middle school kids.
How'd they
played.
do?
It was overtime and we won.
Yay!
Exciting.
And the A team won, and I have, of course, I am here, so I don't know how the girls did, but.
Okay, so 10.2, the masking guidance, we will table to next month. And so the next item is the 2021-22 COVID-19 district protocols. Do we have any updates?
There are no updates, but they are in full swing. We are doing things a little bit more strategically. We're 18 months in, and Wendy says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the protocols and we're going to circle what the parents have. That's brilliant. That only took us 18 months to figure out. The phone numbers are there, everything's there, and it's interesting as we're going through this because we're starting to get into a better groove. We do have Emily Tupper, who joined us for testing. She has been a godsend. So as far as the COVID protocols go, we're following them, and we are giving our families copies when they test positive. The directions are in there. The phone numbers are in there. We're becoming a little bit better at relaying the information than we have. So there's nothing new in the protocols. We just keep plowing along.
And so now all the testing's is being done at the district office with,
No.
instead of the sites?
Not all of it. The
Oh.
sites are still doing some and putting it into the system, then she collects it and reports it to public health.
But like today, there's a dance tomorrow at the middle school. So they had 40 kids lined up. So Emily went over and just helped with the testing. When we had a student test positive in one of our classrooms, Typically, we call the families, and then at Dana Green Redwood, we call the families, and then moms and dads say, please test my kid. Well, usually we have an influx, so we'll send Emily there. It's taken the burden off of the sites. Emily has a wonderful demeanor and just kind of boom, 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 processes it through. So it's really helped all of our sites to have her in that position.
And is she able to help, are you still having to do the dashboard and the intake if it's a DO positive, or any student positive, or that's still your?
So I am I'm the liaison
Son,
with public health.
okay.
So she enters, all the principals and Emily enter the information into a spreadsheet.
Okay.
I take the spreadsheet and take our daily information and give that to public health.
Okay.
And then at the end of the week on Friday, I collate that information and I update the dashboard. I'm happy to say, because of the way we do it and we're keeping the data, to update the dashboard is really a 10-minute job.
Great.
It's not that big of a deal. And then sending public health our daily updates is, again, another 10-minute endeavor. So what's nice, and I didn't realize it until Emily was there, is that we're not being constantly interrupted for, there's another COVID test, there's another COVID test. And Wendy and Renee have been doing the brunt of it, but before Emily, it was all three of us. And
Yeah.
when you start and stop, it just disjoints your day. So I think all of us are being more productive because we don't have that start, stop. So that's what she's doing. And because it's one person, we are relaying that information more consistently. And she's able to find little cracks in the shell of what we need to shore up and how we need to communicate. So it's been nice to have that lens.
Right, you can't all do it, you can't do it all. That's nice to have the help.
Is there still a shortage of tests, or are we good, or?
At the moment, we're fine. We still have enough that I'm not reaching out again yet, because we kind of doubled up on our supply with the specter that there might be shortages, so we got out ahead of that. And so hopefully they'll be, by the time we need more, it'll be in better shape.
Generally, locally in our community, we have plenty of tests.
We do.
As far as you know, okay.
I don't know about the rest of the community. I don't think so, because the clinic is turning people away because they don't have any antigen tests.
Wow.
So Wendy, I'm just going to sing her praises a little bit. In August, she said, Becky, I'm going to order more. I'm like, why are you going to order more? We have 4,000 tests. She said, because there's going to be a shortage. You just watch, you know. And when Wendy's like E.F. Hutton, right? She says something, you say, okay. So so she did that. And then lo and behold, in September, we had the shortage. And I, of course, go in with a panic. And Wendy's like, we're okay. We're okay. Okay, we're okay. And then right when the shortage started, showing signs of recovering, Wendy got in there and ordered another 4,000 tests, I think it was. So we're okay. I mean, we really are okay. But we're also very good about using our tests wisely.
Yeah, not over testing, but doing mindful testing. Okay, so we will continue to table this. We will table this to December meeting as well. And I think our second to last item on the board action, we have mandates and conditionally mandated board policy, which we discussed at length last meeting, and Renee created a beautiful table for us so that we can see when the policy was last reviewed, updated, and if what option was chosen. There was a couple from last month that needed to have further staff discussion, potentially legal discussion, and I think those have been all hammered out. And it's in the column, it states the options that we discussed and then what we legally need to have.
Connie, feel free to close the door. We have fewer people in here now.
I know we need extra bodies.
She doesn't want to move.
So with that, I don't think there are any other questions, but let me know if anyone does have questions. And we also need to give Renee input. Last meeting, we had the red line old school where it was, either red strikeout or the new language might have been yellow potentially, and there might have even been another color. So the first read, we'd have that as an option. And then this meeting, you can see that the policies are all kind of formalized looking, where you can't see what the options were. It's showing what will look like when we, search this on our site. So do we want to continue to keep that red line strikeout for this meeting? And then we'll just see this when we search something, you know, on the site. We just need input for Renee, what you want to have this meeting look like for the policies.
So I liked it when what was being taken out was highlighted in yellow and the new was in green. So we knew green was a go. And I think it was yellow was changed, not gone, but changed.
No,
Well,
but
there
they
was red,
there was a
too.
strike
It
through.
was a red
strike-through.
strike through.
Was it
Yeah.
red? I thought
So you
it was
just want to
yellow.
keep the draft here at this meeting as well as the action, just in case there's any questions. Because right now, when you look at this, you.
As it would be approved.
As it would be
Oh, yeah.
approved.
Okay, yes.
So we just need to tell, I mean, she can do either one, she can drop in either one, so just, we just need to hear if you care.
So we're gonna keep it, and we're gonna keep the little index at the.
Yeah, do you
beginning,
like the
that sort of
index?
thing. That's great,
Mhm.
thank you
Yeah.
for doing that.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
is nice.
And it would be great to have the index, that first read as well, but I just don't know.
When you say index, you're talking about the cover sheet?
Yes,
The table?
The
Well,
table,
first
yeah.
four or five
table.
pages, yeah,
Mhm.
the table, yeah.
which is great.
That is nice.
I think maybe we should leave it for public too. I mean,
Yes.
we know we have easy access to getting both
Right,
copies out,
versions.
but maybe for, I know people at home, I'm sure are reading the board policy, but.
What option are they talking about?
Yeah.
What was the other
But
option?
maybe, then they'll know what,
Transparency,
Right.
so we'll just keep it the way
so
you
both
presented
meetings will be
it.
the same, yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so with that, we've gotten the recommendation from the board on what it'll look like. And so do I have a motion for approval?
I'll move to approve item 10.4, the board policies and administrative regulation updates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jerry? Roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
President Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
And motion carries.
Thank you. And so the last item on the board action is the superintendent evaluation tool. So this is what we had discussed and closed, but the tool, we can choose, we didn't really get to talk about, we chose the standards in closed, but we do have kind of an instruction paragraph on top that we could talk about this evening, or we could just table this to next month. But we also wanted to discuss if we wanted to add a line to review or value or somehow incorporate the board policy 2111 annually, which is the superintendent, I guess, standards per our board policy. So I just want to know how people are feeling. It's 8:09. If we want to just approve this tool with the same instructions on top, or if we want to do any wordsmithing.
I thought we got mine is not, then, didn't a new one get put in?
It did.
It doesn't show up here.
Do we have a paper copy somewhere? Yeah.
These are the ones we got from your email.
Yeah, but then I thought.
What?
I thought Mary did something.
Oh, I just changed the top of it. It is changed. If you read it, it's a little bit, wasn't,
But the board policy thing's not in here?
no, well, that's
No,
what we
that's
were
where-
going to add, because we
yeah.
talked about,
Okay,
We ran out of time.
yeah, that,
okay.
and what Diana's saying is if just right at the end of that, we put
BP.
value and review BP 2111 annually.
Just so it's not forgotten, because it is a board policy.
Because as we were looking at all those, a lot of them
Well, you
are,
could put it right before the second sentence, pursuant to board policy, blah, 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 blah. The FBUSD Board of Trustees will, in consultation with the current superintendent, blah, 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 blah.
And blah, 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 blah.
oh, there you go.
Pursuant, that's after the first sentence?
No, after the first sentence,
Mhm.
starting the second sentence with pursuant to board policy,
Yeah,
2111.
2111.
the
that's
FBUSD Board of Trustees will, da, 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 da.
Perfect.
That's it, that's the revision. Okay, maybe we're done with that. So, do we have any
Blah, blah,
other
blah, blah.
revisions to the tool, the format, this is what's on action, that we're going to approve this new evaluation tool for this school year. If there are no further questions, if there are any public comment, may I have a motion, or we can table it to next month if someone wants to really switch
There is
it
no
up.
public comment.
See, that's good, Becky, because that means nobody.
Okay.
Give me time.
If there was not trust, and people would be
That's true.
So with the revisions.
making a comment.
Do we have a motion, or do we want,
Everybody okay with approving it?
well, I need a motion.
I'll move to approve the new evaluation tool.
The motion or?
Yeah, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table about the evaluation tool with the revisions. Roll call, please.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Babcock. Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. And so we're hoping this tool will be more concise and productive. Our other tool is a little labor intensive, and we kind of got hung up on a few categories, not really categories, but the format of it. And so we were looking for a different tool. So thank you. I think Renee, or maybe even Superintendent Walker, reached out to other districts, some of the different styles, because the formats are very different. And I think this will make our job more effective and have better conversations instead of getting hung up on,
Minutia.
yeah, the minutia of it. And I'm thinking this tool's not working anymore. Anyway, so thank you for everyone's work on this. And so our next, actually, we have information and discussion next, which is 11.1 is Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. So are we having Wendy?
Do you want to take a break? Are you all okay, or do you want to keep plowing through? It's 8:12, 13.
Does anyone need a break? I'm fine.
Keep going.
Mr. Kale and Principal Belli, Principal Kale and Principal Belli, if you'd like to sneak out. Uh-huh. I mean, this is exciting stuff. Don't get us wrong.
But you could watch us at home on your couch.
And double our audience.
I told my mom to watch because I would be on. but
Aw.
No, Mom.
She could watch it later. That's the beauty of it.
God, this is my dinner. Sorry.
Thank you, thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, so is the report, do we have,
So this Educator Effectiveness Block Grant is a pot of money that's coming for exactly what it says it's for. And the requirement is that it be presented and discussed in an open board meeting and then approved by the board in a subsequent meeting. So in speaking with ADCO and feedback from the district, working with Kelly Smith has been incredibly useful and productive, and it's not something we would have been able to continue after next year because we're using COVID money right now to focus on returning strategies. So this would allow us to continue that work for several years, and that seemed to be the consensus about a good way to use those funds, and also to include some additional professional development days for our instructional assistants to empower them to be more para-professionals in the classroom, and thereby making them more useful tool for the teachers to have with them. So that's the proposal. This is not something that's cast in stone. It is what is being proposed to use the funds for. They are usable through 25-26. So we'll have a 4-year window to do that, and it may come back and get changed, but this is the current idea of what would be most beneficial.
And so there's 4 years to use the 519,000?
Actually, there's 5 years, but
5.
we don't, let's see, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Yeah, technically 5 years, but this year we're using other funds to do that. So this would allow us to continue that program for
Mhm.
4 additional years.
So,
And it-
just a couple questions. One, is there enough for 4 years?
Yes.
Who would come up would there be an annual plan of how those funds would be spent? And if so, who would come up with that plan? And
Well, they sit down with Kelly Smith at the beginning of the year, before the beginning of the year, and come up with a contract and a proposal for what the next steps are, based on what she's done previously.
so it'd be like ADCO kind of?
So we do it through our ADCO. The principals meet with Kelly. Kelly comes in and really tells us how our teachers are responding and utilizing the training that she's doing so that we can keep moving forward. Like, for instance, the middle school is probably the furthest ahead out of all the sites when it comes to what Kelly is doing. And then the hard part is right now, we're not getting as much movement because we don't have subs. So typically what happens, the whole social studies department would meet with Kelly for the day, but when you have 4 social studies teachers and you only can get 1 sub for the day because you have 3 people already out because of an illness or something's going on with their kids, well, you can't take the social studies department out. And so our principals have been trying to get in there and do some subbing, but it's been a little tricky. So we really look to Kelly and look to our leadership teams to say, okay, where are we in this? And we make sure that whatever we're doing with professional development, it continues to grow on what we've already done.
I think, I ask because, needs will change as this develops, and ADCO will have certainly a broad perspective of what needs to be done, but it might be nice if on an annual basis there's some sort of survey or some sort of way to get feedback from the teachers and others.
Well, that's why I said this isn't cast
Yeah.
in stone.
Yeah,
This
but I
is
mean,
our
yeah,
preliminary idea
Yeah.
of how right now, with what we know, best to use it.
Yeah.
And it could change. It could change next year.
No, I mean, I think the idea of Kelly, I think, is a great idea. My point is, I just want to make sure that we use her to the best of our ability and what's needed the most every year, because I think it's going to change.
No, we understand that, and just know that when we're looking at student achievement, that's why Kelly is here. It's really to focus in on student achievement and what our teachers can do strategically in the class with instructional strategies, active engagement, tier 2 learning and differentiation. We're using those strategies in the classroom right now. So it's already changed, because one of the things that we knew coming into this year is that while we were focusing on active student engagement, we had to shift over to tier 2 instruction and differentiated instructions because COVID created such a gap. So we are morphing it, and the nice thing is, because Kelly is working with our teachers and our teachers are trusting her, we're getting real authentic feedback. I do have a Google form that we ask for teacher feedback so that we can review it and use that at ADCO to say, okay, where are we in this process? The hard part is we don't get as many people responding to feedback, but believe it or not, when few people respond, it usually means it's okay, because people usually respond to a feedback form when they're angry.
Right.
Or
You have
they
to
don't like
have
something.
an opportunity for it.
And is this a contract we'd have to approve every year?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about, because I think Kelly Smith is amazing, and I think she's probably savvy enough to weave in some of these other things, because I was just looking at number 5, practices to create a positive school climate, including but not limited to restorative justice, training around implicit bias, providing positive behavioral supports. I mean, it goes on, and they're all things that we're facing right now.
And so we're doing those at different levels with different people, and we try and go in one direction because we think it's the right direction, and if it's not looking like the right direction, we have no problem turning. We're not going to continue with something because we started there and we say we have to follow through. But to give you, for instance, we started the school year off with Calvin Oliver, and I don't know if it was as well received as we hoped it would be. We had used him the previous year, so we used him this year to start off at the beginning, and so we may do some follow-ups, but we're not really sure at this point. We brought Jimmy Crudison in to the high school and middle school to talk about implicit biases, to talk about equity, to have our staff really start looking at how do I approach something, and does that have a bias in it that I just never knew existed.
Right.
That went over beautifully. So there are follow-ups that they're doing in their staff meetings with Jimmy.
Oh, great.
So they're ready for that. We didn't push that into Dana Gray, Redwood, and Alt Ed right now because they're up to their eyeballs and everything else. I mean, how many things do you throw at people?
Right.
And we didn't throw it in at Alt Ed because Alt Ed is up to their eyeball. I mean, they're changing a whole new program. So we're really trying to strategically place these things where it's appropriate and the teachers are ready to digest it. So it's a bunch of moving parts, and we are adding those in as we can so that we don't overwhelm our staff.
Yeah.
But it's a shuffle. And yes, Kelly is poised and professional that she can
Weave things in.
weave
Yep.
things in.
Yep, she's amazing.
Okay. So are there any other questions or public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay, so the next item is on information and discussion is we made a revision last year during a workshop that we wanted to have an opportunity to kind of broach the subject of board position availabilities and nominations the month prior to it occurring. So that's what we updated in our board handbook. And so that's why it's on this evening, so that we can talk about the positions. And I know there was discussion before about the worth or value of a parliamentarian, and I did look on board policy. There's no policy that says we need one, because I know that it's usually the newbie that comes on and they feel kind of vulnerable. I think the old school process was read these and get to know what the board's about, and then we're going to ask you questions and hope that you can answer. But it seems to be that people are intimidated by that position, and so we actually went back to our minutes. Last year we decided that it would be like an outgoing president or a past president that would take that duty, and that actually was Jerry, but we never asked Jerry for his services. I don't believe, we kind of did, we kind of do, but I think we jointly rely on everyone's experience, along with Wendy being a prior FBUSD board member. So I also wanted to talk about that as well, that's maybe we don't do that or we continue it. So I will open it up for board discussion on election of president, election of vice president, if we continue the appointment of a parliamentarian, and also the other duty of the organizational meeting in December is discussion of ancillary duties and appointments, which is, I think, the audit committee. I guess Mecca could be up, and there's a few other, there actually was,
The Friends of Mendocino
I
Post.
looked up, I hate to use my phone, but I took a picture. There actually was a few other, okay, let's see if I can. I had some folders at home that, I don't know if we need to redo these. That there was an advocacy committee, I guess we kind of created with writing letters, so we still have that, so someone could choose to be on that. The audit committee, well, wellness meeting doesn't count. There was an emergency prep meeting, like pre-pandemic. There was a couple board meetings,
We
and
did start that.
the police chief, all the head of, you know, that's probably, you guys have had so much time. I don't know if that's something that we need.
Sarcasm noted.
Yeah, Mecca, and then there might have been one more, but anyway, that's what that means by appointments and ancillary duties. So I will let you folks talk about nominations and board availability.
Well, just to get the ball rolling, normally the president is on for 2 years, and then if you're still up for it, Mary, you would slide into the president's position. So just to get that out of the way, in case there's somebody else that wants to do it, that's usually the protocol.
Yeah, I think the board policy says 2 years consecutive is kind of like, that's
The max.
the max. I mean, you
Yeah.
could choose to.
Try to throw your hat in the ring, Scott.
You've only done this for 1 year, right?
Right, I'm on year one. It's been, it seems like it's been a very long year. It seems like it was so many moons ago that it's hard to believe that Kathy, a year ago, December, you were president. It seems like it was many moons ago.
And yet this is your 4th regular in-person meeting.
So
I feel
most
like
of
we've
my
been back a long time.
experience was virtual, which was challenging.
Yes.
Okay. So, I am still available to serve another year. I'll just throw that out.
So it seems like past practice, what would happen is we would essentially keep the two of you on for another year in your
Mhm.
roles.
Right, unless
So-
someone didn't want to make themselves available, or someone else really felt like they wanted to preside and do that position. Because, I mean, the perks of the job, besides, is you get to go, you go to, all the agenda setting as president, and the vice president actually goes to a few more than an average trustee, along with the board chats. But we could also talk about that too, if we rotate those more. Because I go to all of them, and, I don't know if that's,
I think it's appropriate.
so, anyway,
And then who's up for election next year?
the three of us.
Yeah.
So in July, or whenever I guess the deadline is July, you have to file papers. All of the three of us, our term is ending December 2022. So a year from this December.
Okay.
Yeah. So do we think we want to keep the parliamentarian in
Yeah, I
the
think
formality?
Doing it by committee like we've been doing for questions
Mm-hmm.
is working just fine.
So we can just does anyone have any objection to taking that off the agenda as an item to? So Renee, in prior years, we always had 3 officers for election. It was president, vice president, and parliamentarian, and it sounds like there might be a voice consensus that we could just delete that third appointment, because it isn't in our board policy. I checked it. And then we can start thinking about the other committees, and I'll probably give them to Renee, who would be appointing, who wants to be on the other subcommittees.
Sounds good.
So we choose committee members next meeting as well?
Mm-hmm. That's part of there's just, what will happen at the organizational action is oath of office, which actually we won't have any because there's no new members. Election of officers, your verified signatures of the board members, consider approval of the statement of facts, which gets filed with the Secretary of State, approval of the regular meeting dates, which is important to try to not do it the first week of school, maybe not do it the last week of school, and maybe not even, if that Monday is a holiday, don't do it that week, like try to bump it. And so Wendy, I have an email from her of input, so that'll be a kind of an interesting discussion to try to make the best choice. And maybe that's the other thing to look at. No, this isn't really nominations and board position talk, but look at our policy and see what it says about when we're supposed to have meetings, and maybe cut out that fourth whatever it is, second meeting. And then the discussion and assignment of ancillary duties and appointment, and that's the beginning and end of that organizational meeting. And then it goes into a normal agenda.
And then our site.
Excuse me.
Oh, right, our
sites have to
site,
be
that's
right.
right, the
yes.
site, which we need invitations. Because I feel like we haven't really been able to have that relationship with our sites during
How did
COVID.
that start? Does anyone know?
When does what?
How did that start?
This picking site
Yeah,
choices?
having each board member.
Well,
pick
so
a
that
site.
you don't feel like you have to go to all, like everyone, there's a representative for each school, so you're not having to spread yourself thin if there would be, you might have all board members going to one, it just divide and conquers the appearances.
It doesn't mean you can't go to.
Right.
If you're not assigned at the
If
site.
it's a
Started
public-
more than 15 years ago.
Okay,
Wow.
so it's been around a long time. That was my question.
That was your question.
Yeah.
For parents.
Yeah, I understand the reason.
Right.
The reason, just kind of wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember the actual
That's
impetus of it, but it's been around at least as long as I have.
Okay.
Very long.
And is there a list of standing committees that we choose at each year at this organizational meeting?
Mostly what's in your bylaws, the audit committee, and I think there's one other, isn't there?
We had a committee for the construction projects too. We haven't really met in quite a while.
Oh, yeah, you and I were on that.
There was a, like, emergency, there was like a
One of those,
finance, there was a finance committee too.
There was one Scott and I were on, but it never happened. I
That was
don't
the
remember what it
safety thing
was.
that you were talking
Oh, the
about with,
safety thing,
yeah,
that's
that they
right.
had
The
like 2 meetings before
emergency
COVID, yeah.
safe-
Right,
Safety.
that's right. Oh, yeah, we met.
So I guess we need to
Good.
dig into what we're appointing this next year, because obviously these are all in our,
But I don't know if those are the official ones. So I think the budget committee or
The
audit
audit.
committee, I
Mhm.
think was the only like
Official.
real bylaw one. And then these other ones have come, like the Mecca and the Friends of Mendocino
Mhm.
Coast, you know, those
Mm.
things were kind of past practice.
so we'll need your recommendation on what committees we should continue.
Well, I mean, I would say at this point that, let's not overextend ourselves.
Right.
And they can be adjusted at any time. If we feel the need of a committee, then we create it and go.
Right. Out of-
You know, budget, I don't know if we want a budget committee right now, because I think you should be doing that all together.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, we had 2 people kind of hammer it out and sit down, but I think right now that needs to be public, transparent in all 5 of you, so that you can have that conversation. I'd hold on that. The safety, group, or
Emergency,
the
yeah.
emergency group, we just haven't been able to get that back together. We have a new, sheriff. And while it should be a priority, we've been thrown in different directions.
Right.
So I'm hoping, to be honest with you, to get that up and moving again in the summer.
Mhm.
That's my timeline for it. I don't feel like I can do that any sooner than this
Mhm.
summer. So as far as the audit committee, and I would like to have 2 of you on for construction, and would they serve with the bond oversight? No board members are on that, huh?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
But definitely a construction committee, if, because 2 people could easily come to our weekly meetings with QKA if they wanted to, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they want.
I'm just
if you wanna-
thinking of the benefit to them.
Yeah, probably none.
Well, maybe
Probably none.
Jerry might have.
The other thing to look at, and I don't remember the nuances of it, but there's a difference between a board-appointed committee and a superintendent-appointed committee, and it has to do with the Brown Act requirements of each.
Oh.
So if you need a committee, we should research what those differences are to make it easier to conduct if need be.
Gotcha. Okay,
Hmm.
well, why don't we look into that? Are you taking
Yeah, I
a
have
note
no
on that,
idea
Renee?
about the distinguish.
And my only thought, and this has nothing to do with any board member ever attending a negotiation session, but I wonder if it would be a benefit to have a labor relations committee, a couple members that you bounce ideas off of, or, I don't know. Just, I've always thought that
We
There's-
did try it a few years ago, and my mech and Jerry pipe in, but that it was not very,
Well,
it
I
wasn't
actually-
something we
I
wanted to keep track.
One year
keep
I
track.
actually went with Chuck.
Right,
and
that's what I
would
mean.
never do it again.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that this committee attends any negotiation sessions at all. I'm just,
Saying that meet and confer at the end to kind of give you an update, maybe?
or just providing support as you
Mhm.
go through the process in between
The regular meetings.
board meetings, because I feel like board meetings, so much happens
That's an idea.
in between board
It's-
meetings that, just an idea,
It's
something to think about between now and our next meeting.
I mean, the only thing I like the idea of that is just it gives a pause for everyone to kind of regroup, because sometimes when the emotions get high, which that can happen, you know, you just want people to be making good decisions, not emotional ones. So,
And
but maybe,
it's-
maybe it would not be timely, you know, effectively in the process either. Because maybe ask, when you meet with your other superintendents, if something like that
Or
would
ask
be a
Nancy too,
benefit.
ask Nancy too.
Yeah, the benefits and the drawbacks to that.
Without having any cost.
Okay, so are there any other comments for the 11.2?
And there is no public comment.
Okay.
I do appreciate how this all evolved, because I remember my first meeting, and you know, getting fired at, and it's like, bah, it's I mean, we've all been on the board for a while, but, you know, it's a little,
Shelter
it's
shock.
a lot, yeah. And you're like, what? And
Right.
so I think, even when I was nominated for president too, it's kind of like this fire thing.
And all of a sudden it's like, here you
yeah,
go.
yeah, move your seats and
I
come
know.
over here. And it's
Wait.
like, whoa. So this is nice. It's
great.
It's a little
A great
Oh, more
addition.
civilized.
Well, and I was an appointed board member, and I didn't realize like you were going live. Like I was gonna sit up. I figured I'd done like the job interview, and I was gonna go home, and then I could do the next month. They're like, no, come on up. I'm like, oh my gosh, and you're having to vote on things you didn't really have all the time to mess with it. So, yeah, the ahead conversation is nice to ease the anxiety. So the next item is the email course.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just one more
Yeah.
thought I had is it seems that there are opportunities throughout the year to recognize either teachers or send messages out to the public or it may be beneficial to have a two-person committee who just throughout the year, you know, we have this fund now, right? We're going to spend money and do these things, and it always seems, at least from my perspective, the same people are always doing things, which I'm very grateful for the time being spent doing it. But I don't know. It might
Like
be
a
nice to
sunshine
have.
committee.
That's what, the high school, we called it the Sunshine Committee. and
Great,
we
whatever.
rotated. It was nice.
You know, we're responsible, or they're responsible for the articles in the Advocate, if the board agrees to do with those articles.
Mhm.
You know, any sort of events to welcome teachers or thank teachers or
Mhm.
whatever. So that's my other.
Okay, so
possible-
because
That's a great
that's a little
idea.
bit different than the advocacy. I mean, because that was more.
Yeah, no, that
So that would be a sunshine committee.
Yeah.
So we can definitely.
And these are just ideas. you
Yeah,
know, throw
no,
out
but I
there.
think
it's a good one.
Then you guys can keep track of the money.
Right. Well, that's why I brought it up to Diane in the first place. I said, gosh, when everybody puts the money at the beginning, then you're not running around going, did you pay me? Did you
Well,
pay
then you
me?"
forget
Yeah.
over time. It's just, so
Right.
that makes a nice, so that's our sunshine money to provide, but actually having committee for doing other.
Right. And that gives everybody on the board a job.
Yes, we want to give everyone a job. Okay, moving on to email correspondence to the board. So this, we wanted to further discuss that I believe Becky checked with legal and that we aren't obligated to do the email, and it creates, although I think we're figuring out the kinks that we ask those in person, well, you can tell me about that too, to speak, and then we check in with the folks through email, and there's a little bit of a delay, but
Well, now that you've passed the virtual meeting, if you don't have a quorum, you've got to keep it.
yeah, that's part of it. Oh, that's true, that's true. Yeah, because, well, until you need to use that, but I guess, yeah, you really should keep it. And we did briefly speak on it at our workshop, and I felt like there was no disadvantage of keeping it. It wasn't like it was creating staff time, and if makes it available for families, that it's clear that that'll be read out as a public comment. I think we should definitely keep it for the school year. There's no disadvantage. Does anyone have any objections?
Nope.
And since it's not, it's mandatory if we go virtual, but I don't know that it needs to be on action next month or anything.
So just keep it in discussion for now?
I think so, but I think that it's clear that we want to keep it for the rest of the school year, so it probably doesn't even need to be on
So just remove it?
I think so.
Okay.
Does anyone think it needs to be talked about every month? I think we just keep it for the school year and just evaluate it.
But I agree with that, yep.
Okay. Take off. And I think we are down to board reports. So who would like to speak briefly on announcements or reports on their activities?
And I'll just start that I attended the MIG 5, which was advocacy and kind of relationships with superintendent and HR related things, and really informative, and it was just a nice kind of way to finish off the program. Highly recommend the MIG not only to new board members, but there were a lot of people in the class that have done it numerous times. And so I don't know, for board members that have been on the board for 10 years, if they're going to stick around for another few years, maybe beneficial to, maybe not attend all 5, but attend 1 or 2 just to kind of refresh. But I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to attend the classes, and just got a lot of good information out of it.
Did you have a breakout room and all when you, did they have a breakout?
Yeah, they put us in these Zoom breakout rooms, and I ended up in a room with 2 people from the same district.
Shoot.
So,
oops.
well, it was pretty interesting conversations. It was, not as varied, I guess, as it could have been.
You would have had, yeah.
Surprised they did that. But somebody
It's just a
wasn't paying
mistake.
close
I
attention.
think
Sure,
they
it's just a mistake.
the computer automatically just
Yeah.
kind of
Formulates.
randomly
Well, good.
assigned
I'm
people.
glad
Yeah.
you officially graduated. I don't know if,
Yes.
yeah, great.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've got nothing to report.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
I see your book, Diana, and I did not get my chapter read this month.
It's
I
okay.
feel-
You
I'm-
still have time.
I'm feeling.
This is the month of November.
Oh, well, that's true.
You
I
take it
thought
on
it was
your road
supposed to be
trip.
before the meeting, so, but I can, yes. So I went to the MECA meeting, and I'm sorry, I need to email, the group, because, or not the group, sorry, I can't do that. But I need to email, Superintendent Walker, because, I think you might have some good input to send to Amanda about continuing the group. So you might want to.
Okay.
I know you're very busy, but
Very
I think you
excited.
might have some good input on, they just want to make sure their time is valuable because the attendance is terrible. And even though it's virtual, anyway, they've got these 2 things going and they think they'll be self-sustaining and not have to. So I attended the 8th grade promotion meeting. Again, it's exciting just to be back doing things for kids. Went to Fort Bragg Middle School Parent Night, excellent turnout. I'm not sure if Mrs. Vera has numbers or anything, but the room was packed, and it took me 2 hours to get through 5 teachers, because Ryan has the same teacher multiple times, so there was lots of parents there. Fort Bragg Middle School basketball, boys had their first game tonight, it was very exciting. I picked up my son, had a little incident, but at the FFA community service, it was really amazing to see. I don't know if you guys saw it on Facebook, but the kids that Jacob was at the Humane Society, and there were tons of kids. There was 2 different shifts, and I was there for the switchover, and it's just great to see kids out doing stuff and being happy and together. And then, unfortunately, I missed a lot of it, but I did attend the CSBA while I was at work. And anyway, I wasn't there very long. But so trying to get rejuvenated and, doing, I don't know if I want to pay to do some things, but these things were free, and I
Yeah.
think that was nice.
Mhm.
So,
And about kids.
mhm.
That's nice. So I also went to the CSBA Region 1 PACER meeting. It had some good information about the budget, sounded pretty encouraging. I attended the Three Rivers Board meeting, Becky already mentioned that. And they updated their COVID-19 protocols and to mirror ours. So thank you, Becky, sounds like everybody's mirroring ours, so very nice. And then board chat this morning, that was very nice chatting with the 2 of you and Renee. Nobody came.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a positive thing in many
But
respects.
I like those conversations.
They are
because
really good.
It really is an opportunity for the public to ask the questions, even if it's just to pop in, just to ask the one burning question.
Right.
And people always, like you said, the shoulders go down, like, oh, okay, I didn't think about that, because they think we all look at it from our own perspectives, but then when you look at it from an administrator,
Right.
to have the information, they realize, oh, okay, I get it, or, okay, that's the direction you're going, or it's just really a candid time. And so
It is.
I always enjoy, catching up, as,
it's-
because we're building relationships on our board when we go to these and no one shows up, but it is nice to have, community or parents, show
I
up.
expected people.
I did expect
was really
people.
surprised that we didn't.
Yeah.
So,
And so I also attended the CSBA update, and the budget information was very thorough, and it was nice to have. The other part of it was about the mandates and some protocols, and to have an attorney, free attorney for an hour, and listen to his recommendations. And he gave a presentation, and I think that the group, Mary did email me her minutes. They're almost like minutes, but her
Well,
notes,
tried really
which I
hard.
can forward to any one of you if you want that. But I believe Lauren, she will do minutes as well, and so we can forward both of those. But it is pretty worthy if you can, attend, because you then kind of feel better because everyone's experience. It's not just us that experiencing, this,
Well,
that,
and
or
the
the
budget was
other thing.
breaking news. That
Yeah, it was
like-
very breaking news. And then I am continuing the read. So the second chapter, I think I really enjoyed. So it's quick. I mean, it shouldn't take you an hour, but it was all about the mindset and trying to stay out of the gray area as a board member. And it talked about your manner and system thinking and deep learning and strategic thinking. And what I liked about it, gave another visual, was that as board members, we're over a fire. Well, it was just a metaphor, not that the school's a fire, but we're in the helicopter looking oversight, and we have, nearsightedness and farsightedness. And if we're in the fire and the lines, we're not in the right spot. And so stay out of that gray area too.
Right.
And so that's all it's about, just the demeanor and your focus. And it had some good examples it talked about, and they give quick little stories. So I think in the end, I think what I'll end up doing is maybe just, the sentences that resonate with me of the role, and have that maybe for our January workshop, just to have like
Oh, good idea.
kind of headline news of each chapter, a few sentences that really resonate that, to either provide conversation or just reminding, oh yeah, that's my role. Like we're doers if we're here, if we want to volunteer, but we need to make sure we're not doing, we're outside of our role.
Right.
So that's the point of this. So, but I believe the next item on the agenda is advanced planning suggestions for future meetings. And I think we did kind of address it throughout the agenda, but we will definitely have superintendent report, I don't know what you'll call it, K-12 immunization mandate update, or some sort of.
I think we need to watch how we word that.
Yeah,
because,
exactly. I don't know what you'll say.
It's a potential.
Yeah.
And so I think we put the word potential, or just
Something.
updates on potential mandates.
Mhm.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yep.
And I think maybe we could, it might behoove us to have a little bit of PR around that too, so that people understand we're not
Well,
making a decision, I
right,
don't know,
it's-
so that they
it's
don't
a-
come here and,
There's
you
no
know.
decision to be made even at this
Right.
point.
And it'll be in
right,
reports.
but
Yeah.
we are more than welcome to, especially at the board chat, would probably be a great place for some families to
That's
ask
why I
questions.
thought
and-
today we'd hear from people.
Yeah.
I was so surprised.
But I don't want people to think we're doing something.
Well, if it's
No.
under my report, it really is just, it's just a report.
I know, but I just want to make
Yeah,
sure the
I
public
gotcha.
understands that.
Right.
So could we have a discussion item on the tennis courts at the middle school? Because we walk by the
Oh.
playground all the time, and those tennis courts are packed
Or an,
every time we go by.
or an
The
update.
tennis courts by the middle school?
Yeah, the
The actual
gentleman
middle
that
school tennis
came
courts
to
for the
talk about
pickleball.
making pickleball
Okay, we can
courts.
add that to discussion for next month?
Well, or I assumed that was not I thought that would be more of a very,
I can have
Is that-
Barry talk
'cause is
about
it
that.
board- I guess it would be funding if we were gonna put money into it, but.
Money-
Or
or he
maybe is there
mentioned
some
the
kind of
Since
fund
I don't know
for
if
that?
Well, it
if
could
the
be a
people, the
facility
staff could
update.
get moving a little faster than us meeting next, you know what I mean? Like,
We had
So
a
I- and
discussion
I
about
just-
it a while back. I don't forget what it was about.
So here's what I will tell you about advanced planning, so that we're staying
Yes.
on the
within-
agenda. For advanced planning for future board meetings, I have no problem putting something on the agenda for discussion about the middle school courts. I need to remind all of you that that no school district property is open to the public during school hours.
Mhm.
And maybe that's the discussion we have to have,
Okay,
just so people know that we're not just being
We can
stingy.
Or,
Ignore it, right.
or just, you know,
But they might be happy just having it on the weekends. I mean, just
Well, and what I don't want to get into the open discussion about that now, but I also felt like, and this would be advanced planning for me, at that moment, say, you know, can you get connected with these folks if they have questions, or so the
I will do
staff
that
is,
before December 9th.
yeah, and have a discussion with the folks, and just so questions can be asked and they can be answered by staff. And then we'll go, you're on agenda setting next month, so we can check in with.
Is that in person then?
What?
Is in person?
No, those are all virtual.
Okay.
They're all virtual. The agenda setting, and I guess that we could talk about that.
If you would
in
like to
future.
be in person, Jerry, you can come to my office.
Mhm.
I'll
if
be in
it's
your
easier.
office the next day.
The
Is
next
what?
day.
I'll be in your office the day after. Nancy and I will be there.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
I guess.
I might take you up on that.
Okay. So yeah. So I guess if anyone wants to go in person, it's easier for me because I'm.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll do it virtual.
So I do have something, I meant to email Renee, but with the basketball schedule and the holiday weekend in January, if we could get a doodle going soon for our workshop in January.
Okay.
Because if you guys
Thank
intend
you.
to have it on a weekend, it's getting pretty full already.
Yeah.
We have a
Basketball will do that.
yeah, there's a home tournament.
Okay. Is there? Okay, in January? Okay, so we're looking for a weekend day?
The first weekend in June.
So
And
it's
then
not
I
a
just-
July, whatever that
January.
other J month
January.
is.
Do you have,
I just want to bring up, there was discussion at some point of talking about the naming of the district, and then an email sent out shortly thereafter saying that now may not be the best time. I just want to come full circle with that and say, you know, yes, we agree this is not the best time, or if there are still some of us that feel that there's never a good time for a discussion like that. So I just
Right.
wanted to remind us that we did talk about talking about that at some point in the future. Whether we do that in December or not, I just wanted to bring it up.
right? Well, me leaving that meeting, you know, I think the district's focus right now is health and safety. And for me personally, like you said, will it ever be a good time? Probably not, but I feel like people are still not 100% themselves. So it's not really something that I want to put on staff and the community, because there's so many other priorities with our balancing our, you know, our life and our emotions right now are not the same as they were 2 years ago. So that's where I'm hesitant.
Maybe just to keep it on the back burner for, I mean, it might be something that we address early next year or something. Once, let's knock on wood again, real wood,
Yeah,
that we're gonna get through this pandemic and can.
and have more of a candid, you know,
Mhm.
real conversation where you're not competing with.
Masks and
and-
hopefully.
Yeah,
Things
well,
where-
and just know, I mean, I have a folder that when there is a non-agenda item, I actually write it down in a folder and put insert. And so at agenda setting, it's something that I bring with me and I look at to see if it's something that fits our governance calendar and if it's something that we want to prioritize for staff. There's,
Yeah,
we have to have the.
I'm not advocating either way. I just
Yeah, no,
wanted to-
I thank you, I appreciate you bringing it up, because it brings clarity to, you know, how this works,
Mhm.
and getting things on the agenda.
And then again, we're not ignoring what's been
Yeah,
brought to
no,
us
I really
and what's
do.
in front of us.
Because, you know, all of the non-agenda item comments,
Mhm.
you know, we're listening. So any other suggestions? Okay, so our housekeeping, everyone gets to have a week off from school, kids-wise, and I hope everyone has a great restful break, and just travel safe if you're traveling. And Redwood, I believe I will be able to attend the site council meeting and the site council for high school on the 7th. Kathy will attend, and I usually go as a parent. And did you have an
No, I was just
addition?
no, I was wondering what the FBUSD Performing Arts on the night of our board meeting.
Oh,
I actually saw that too, and I have to tell you, I attempted 3 times today to email Jenny Windsor.
and you got interrupted.
Every time. And so
Well,
it's-
according to Laura, when I met with her about another issue using the foyer there wasn't going to be a thing.
There was nothing?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't, but maybe they reserved it in case.
Right, so we'll just look at our calendars and see if that's,
I'll find out.
okay, so then the next meeting is the organizational meeting, December 9th, and I think we'll get the first do we get a report, financial report?
Yes.
Yep.
That's December.
Perfect,
And-
and Jerry is on the agenda setting. So,
And
which
when
is-
did they say the Dana Gray Book Fair? I didn't catch the date, but they said there was one coming up?
It was December
Um,
something, I figured they're really good about Facebook. so I
December
figured-
7th.
Oh,
I
December
heard it, but I didn't know,
Okay.
I thought she said site, but that must have been
Okay.
back there. Okay, perfect. And so
Perfect.
here it is, 8:56. May I have a
Look at
motion?
that.
And then hold, there was just another discussion about having another meeting,
January.
no, December 13th.
Yes, so at agenda setting, I'll know more
Okay, so that was
of
just
my
seeing if it was
whereabouts.
okay.
Yeah, that, and I
Okay.
think, I'm kind of well, I'll know more at agenda setting.
Okay, so that's
But I
not
think we'll have a
definite.
quorum in person, so,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll figure it out at agenda setting, but thank you for bringing that up, because,
Okay.
but is everyone's available on the 9th? Otherwise, that's our regular meeting, and the 13th. There's a possibility that,
I'm okay, I
You're
made it to
okay?
the first one, I'm okay
Okay.
with missing the
okay,
game.
so we have a quorum for either one. Okay, so ready to adjourn. May I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so moved. 8:57.